It's time for a little Saturday morning fun time! Your showman.
All right, I think it's too long.
Okay.
We need a new intro. Who does our intro? Oh, that's right, it's me. I do our intro. Okay, so I need to do a new intro. We only have Andre for a little bit here, but happy Saturday! It is time for some Tom and Gerry, or as Comic Relief Crusader would say, Tom and Jerry, or Jigary. Andre, welcome to the show. I know we got you for a half hour. I don't know if we should start showing the show, the film strip now. You want to do it? Let's go for it.
Well,
Yes,
I
because
listen
it's
to you.
very long.
Thanks for having me. Either way.
No, I appreciate it, buddy. It's deeply appreciated. So I have this version of the film thanks to Andre, and I have to agree that this is the best cut of the film I've ever seen.
Absolutely. Let's begin with exactly what this is and what fan edits are, for those who may not be aware, because we all know. But for those that don't know, a fan edit is basically whenever you have a movie that doesn't quite work, like it's good, but it doesn't quite work. An astute fan will be able to see this could have been better, this could have been cut, this deleted scene could have added in, and then a fan editor will then create a fan edit by making those changes to the final movie. Now, 9 in 10 fan edits, they're a little bit of rubbish, if we're completely honest, and you don't need to waste time with them. But that final 1 in 10 actually improves upon the original work more often than not. And this is partially because a good chunk of the fan editors out there are actually professional editors who do like some unofficial work on the side just from their love of the genre. The fan edit we're talking about right now, of course, is the fan edit of Dune called the Spice Diver cut. And the person who has done it is someone called Spice Diver. I do not know who Spice Diver is, but I would imagine that Spice Diver in reality is a professional editor, because what he has done to Dune is truly remarkable. And of all the good fan edits out there, and there are many which are really good, I do not hesitate to say that this is the definitive and the best fan edit in existence. And there are no other examples of a movie being so vastly improved by a fan edit as David Lynch's Dune. I think that if David Lynch ever were to be presented with this fan edit, there's a non-zero chance that he would agree to release it as the director's cut. And it wouldn't be the first time. Famously, the Brian De Palma feature, I forgot the name of it right now, if someone can help me out, but there's a movie by Brian De Palma.
Or not Legend.
Not Legend, it's another one. It's one with John Lithgow, I think. Either way, we can find out.
Oh, Raising Cain.
Raising Cain, yes, I remember
that's
that
the one.
movie.
Raising Cain. The director's cut of Raising Cain actually started out as a fan edit. And someone showed it to Brian De Palma. And Brian De Palma reached out to this fan editor and said that however incredible it was, this fan editor had been able to get out the movie that they wanted to get out of the footage, but they weren't able to. And they talked some back and forth, and in the end, the fan edit was officially commissioned and recreated by the studio and released as the director's cut. I do not doubt that something like this could and probably should be done with the Spice Diver edit of Dune, which improves upon the movie in ways I cannot even begin to describe.
Well, I would point out the narrative process of it is so much better.
Yes.
Well, and I'm not even 100% sure this guy's a professional, because he may be saying it in the beginning just to throw you off, but the reason he did 3 versions is he said he learned more as he was going along too. But not only that, you're right. Like, this version is stuck in 720p. It has the DVD, a really crappy DVD rip of the TV scenes in it. And now we know we have a 1080p version of the TV version, the 4K version of the film. He said he'd never do another version in this version, but I would love to see him revisit it, and or like you said, because this is technically
a better copy. Yeah,
an
if you got
official
better
version available. It's only available on one version in existence, but it is technically official, and it's this one right here that I have.
Well, 2 points.
If I may, he uploaded it on YouTube and upscale it to 4K with AI.
Yeah, it looks like dog shit. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say.
It looks like dog shit.
Yeah.
No,
the best version of it is the one, because the restrictions that he has to work with is the quality of the footage that is officially available, because that is what he's used here. And the best version is actually the version that he put out on Blu-ray. This version is, if you rip it, it's 30 gigabytes in size, and it is basically based on the official Blu-ray release. Now, you can upscale it, but with upscaling then comes the DVR and everything like that, plus you put it on YouTube.
Right.
That means that the picture may be blown up to 4K, but there's no bit rate behind it. All the bit rate is gone, which means that the best version that you can get of this is still the 30 gigabyte version that is minted straight from the Blu-ray.
And that's the thing, is the
version in existence of this.
The 4K release of this is actually pretty good. It's got one of the better 4K scans. So, like, I would love to see him get his hands on that footage, especially if they still have the other footage in a vault. It'd be nice to have him scan it.
Yeah, it would be nice if someone could go on and just commission this for an official release and just do an official Spice Diver release of it in 4K.
Would David Lynch's approval make it?
Well, I don't know. See, that might be the one thing that's stopping it, because the version that I held up is actually a German release. And in the US, there is precedent for this, because Universal, the same company that owns the rights to this in the US, did release the fan edit of Waterworld on Blu-ray. So,
which is really good, by the way. If
the Odyssey edition, yeah, and that's basically what they did, is they took that version and they just took the footage and cut it in the order in the way he did. Basically, for that version, they took all the new because the original version was cut from like the TV version of the movie from like 30 years ago.
Well, that was what I was going to say about the whole thing about David Lynch's permission, because they went ahead and did the TV version, which he hated, and they took his name. He had his name taken off, and they just credited a director, Alan Smithy, for that. So they can go ahead, I'm sure, and do whatever they want.
If someone in uni wants to, they can do it.
Yeah,
but it would just be like a nice gesture if David Lynch were to approve of it, but it's not strictly necessary. He doesn't own the movie.
That, or I'd like his cut of it. Like, I'd like, because I think he's even said, because going off of that, let's be real, a lot of what's in the Spice Diver cut is basically the TV cut, just cut in a different way, in different order, with the special effects actually finished. I wonder if he still would even prefer it. I wonder if he would just love to be able to go back, because he shot the movie basically he wanted to make. He just didn't get to edit the movie he wanted to make, is what my understanding is, right?
Yeah, like the Spice Diver version, it's basically the version that David Lynch shot.
This is the movie that made him say, never give final cut to somebody else. If you're going to make a movie, make sure final cut is part of the deal.
That was a pretty good David Lynch.
Wow. I was just very impressive.
I just I was dressed for the wrong Dune. I thought you guys meant Cara Dune, so I'm going to take this off.
Oh, okay, yeah, Cara Dune.
Okay, so
no, wrong Dune. There's sand involved, but
I do have my best value popcorn bucket.
I hate sand.
The question to ask is, what company would you suggest that you would prefer to put out a better version or this version of Dune?
Well, I think Arrow is set up to do it, because they did the US version of the 4K and the UK release, but they didn't even have the TV cut on there. So I don't know. I don't know what's getting in the way, and I think he meant Alan Smithy if he said David Smithy.
Yeah. Arrow blew me away with their Conan release. What was cool is they actually took another fan-made production and officially recreated it and put it on the Blu-ray. There's a YouTube video that's been out for several years called Conan the Barbarian the Musical, which is completely fan-made.
Yeah, they put that on the Blu-ray.
Cool. And they
Oh my God.
contacted the guy who made it, and they recreated it in 4K and remastered it and put it on the Blu-ray as a bonus feature. A company that does that, that's a company that could do this. But as it is right now, yeah, the best version is the version for Blu-ray, which is 30 gigabytes in the file itself with maximum bitrate and everything. So that's the best version to get.
And
But they're all
720p.
fan-edited.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I do love this movie though, and I was the kid that they thought they were gonna get and didn't. I was the kid that wanted the Dune lunchbox that collected the Dune trading cards, and actually, although I love all the ideas in the Dune book, I never really got into the book series, and I know this is like, I really want to be on the new Dune hype train, but for me, as a lover of David Lynch and Dune being the first David Lynch movie that I saw, this is always going to be the movie. I don't see any reason personally to go beyond this. I feel like David Lynch did something really special, and although it got messed with, and I love this cut, I do think this is a great movie, and I would love to see Lynch, who said he would like to do a new edit. So, I know that's a bit controversial. Everyone's on the Denis Villeneuve train at the moment, but this is the one for me. Love it.
I think
I get it.
I think part of the reason for that is where the novel lies, as far as being literature and when it came out. I mean, you're talking a period of time where you had a lot of young people, a lot of hippies and stuff, were really into a lot of stuff in the late 60s. This book came along at a time when a lot of the nerdy hippies were reading Tolkien. They were reading Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. They were fans of Star Trek. They were fans of Marvel Comics. That's really where Marvel Comics made its bones with an entire generation. And the book hit really well with that particular group of people. So
Yeah, it was really
that's part
into
of
the
the reason
hippie
why.
movement too.
Yeah.
It's got fascinating ideas about, politics, economics, because I'm kind of an economics geek. I just always found it a bit dry, no pun intended.
Well, again, it was a book that took a while for its author to be able to put together. And for me, I was more of a fan of the story. And as much as I really liked Lynch's version when it came out, I mean, it was one of the last movies before I graduated high school. I do like the Villeneuve version also. I mean, his take on it is really well done. Both films have their merits, but I'm more of a fan of the books.
The mistake is trying to turn the book Dune into a movie in the first place, because there's just too much there. It would have to be like, to do it, because they have to skip through so much, even splitting into two parts. There's a bunch of shit I know they're gonna skip in the second one because it's a 3-year period.
All the weird stuff in it really appeals to Lynch's sensibilities, though. I have to ask, since we only have Andre for a little bit, though, this shield belt scene that we just saw, what do you feel about it? Like the kind of like 80s fake CGI aesthetic. Do you think it still holds up? Is something cool, or do you think it looks hokey?
I think it looks cool, because I have to say I really enjoy that retrofuturism aesthetic. I wouldn't accept it in a movie that came out today. I think that they did really, really well with that in the Villeneuve movie. But I have to say that on the whole, I actually agree with you. For nostalgic reasons, I actually prefer the David Lynch movie, and specifically this version of it, as a standalone adaptation. Like, I just find myself, even with the new movie, objectively perhaps being a better adaptation, this is the one that I return to, because I think it has something quite unique, both in its design, its score, and everything. I mean, just look at the thought that has gone into the design. Look at the House Atreides, which is on planet Caladan, a water planet, meaning it's a green planet with loads of wood, because there will be wood there, right? We didn't see much of the planet, but look at the backgrounds. It's all wooden. it all makes sense because they'll be using the resources they have available, and trees will be plenty on a lush world like Caladan. It's like details like that, and just the design element, like the golden throne room of the Emperor, is just glorious. And I prefer the aesthetic design choices in this one to the ones in the Villeneuve movie. Actually, they are so good that Villeneuve lifted his design choices from this one. Like, for instance, the still suits. The still suits aren't a brand new adaptation of what's in the novel. No, they're a new take of what's in the David Lynch movie. I think the David Lynch movie is a stunning achievement. It's a shame it wasn't like more realized. It didn't get anywhere, but I think everything in it holds up. There are things I wish were different. I wish we had more establishing shots. I wish they had more money to do like some more establishing shots on the different planets. Instead, what we have is like the planet from space, spaceship landing, and then interior of castle. It would be nice to see a little bit more than that, but all in all, I think the Lynch movie is fantastic.
You're muted, Gerry.
As a treat for both of you, I'm going to share a link for Martin to show is where Digital Corridor recreated the Dune shields, but in the new movie.
Corridor Crew.
Yeah, Corridor Crew.
Yeah, oh yeah,
that is a channel that I subscribe to, and I just love these guys. You got it, Martin?
Yes.
I put it to the minute mark where it's about to start.
I have seen this. I have seen this video, so
you know what I'm talking about. I
believe I have seen it too. I think I know what we're talking about. Especially, yeah, and it's glorious. Something goes to show how the stuff
Martin?
in the movie actually holds
Wait.
Oh, I'm sorry. The URL isn't in English. I apologize.
Ha ha ha! Look how funny.
There's just so much that I love about. I feel like the new, I can never say his name, version.
Villeneuve.
Villeneuve.
Yeah, Villeneuve, I think.
But his version for me suffers from the same thing that Avatar suffers from, which is that it stays in this very singular color palette all the way through, which David Lynch very much managed to figure that problem out. And even though it's still very orange and dusty and dirty, the set designs are fantastic. Oh, there it is. Great pause moment.
All right. Yeah, right. Go for it.
Oh,
let's go. Oh, no audio. That's awesome. There it is.
What do you mean no audio?
We can't hear it.
We can't hear
Live
it.
broadcasting, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome.
Okay.
But still, you're right. That retrofuturism, as you call it, yeah, I definitely have a soft spot for that.
I love me some retrofuturism.
And I gotta say too, the sandworm design, the great value sandworm bucket.
Wait.
I like the. Nope.
Whoa.
Live television.
That's saucy.
Yo!
Those are saucy.
Wow.
Okay, does it have audio?
Yeah, we hear it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is so cool.
I have you.
I will look down, my lord. You to join me in death.
Wait,
You did a title end sequence? You had time to do a title sequence at the end?
yeah.
That's why yours is 25 seconds.
By the way, I like
That's just wonderful.
I like the acting better in the original as well. I loved like Patrick Stewart just going now.
It had a more classic feel to it.
True. Love it.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
the weirding modules. I actually really love those too. Those weird freaking things.
I heard during production, this thing was a nightmare to work with. What's that, Andre?
I believe that. Yeah, no, about the weirding modules. Yeah, I kind of like see the point because although it wasn't so much well known at the time, because in the books, the weirding module, it's just martial arts. Because the book was written at the time when there was lots of mysticism around martial arts. The only thing a Western audience knew of martial arts was basically watching Bruce Lee, who seemed like this larger-than-life figure. And then you have the Eastern martial arts, which seems like this invincible, half-magic kind of stuff. And that's kind of like what went into the movie, with the weirding module being a kind of martial art, which made them pretty much invincible in hand-to-hand combat. In this sense, using like weapons based on sound as the weirding module instead, in a way, holds up better. Because now we know that someone who has studied boxing for 1 year will generally beat the shit out of a lifelong practitioner of most traditional Eastern martial arts, with the exception of MMA, because most of that mysticism stuff was just mumbo-jumbo bullshit. So in this sense, it wasn't intended to, but yeah, the weirding modules based on sound kind of hold up better with what we now know.
I also
absolutely. Hold on just a second, guys. I wanted to point out one of the wonderful things about the production was all of the work put into making every world look distinctly different and matching what that world was supposed to be. And the work here in the palace is just some of the most gorgeous architecture I've seen. It's just beautiful woodwork.
Yeah, and here we have to give some credit to past iterations of the movie as well, because there were previous versions of Dune, and they were all supposed to look different, have very distinct worlds and everything like that. So that wasn't a unique thing to David Lynch, but he, of course, was the one that made it. But much of what he did, Jodorowsky had planned before for his version of it. But I think that in the end, David Lynch probably made a better movie than what Jodorowsky would have been able to, because he had.
I think
this looks like a live-action cartoon.
I was going to say it probably would have looked like The Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
Yeah, exactly, like a cartoon type feel to it. This is more grounded. By the way, I've not said hello to everybody. Plus, we have some super chats I want to get to. We got Keely Chow, Anima Confusa, love of my life, Penny, the wonderful Sixes here, Joe's Atmosphere, William Shakespeare, War Monkey, E. Clay Thomason, Heat Sinker, The Woke Breaker, Hamdinger, Radioactive, and Captain Fandom Nerd in the chat. Oh, Canadian Spider-Man has joined us, and Max Headroom GPT, as well as our dear friend in the UK, Andy Morrow. So thanks for being here, guys. And where are our super chats? We've got 6 for $5 yelling out to Tom and Andre, Boss Man.
Hey, 6.
And then, of course, we've got Joe's Atmosphere. Dune is number 2 on my Dino De Laurentiis list. Only Conan is better. What a cast. Can't tell this story in one movie, though. Hail to all. That has always been the problem for me. And that's what Keith brought up before, is that book is like this thick. And how do you put that into even 3 hours?
Well, this movie is definitely missing one thing from the 80s, and that is David Bowie's bulge. But, I mean, that being said, the aesthetic.
What do you think of Sting as Fade?
He's all right.
That was such an 80s, thing to do.
I mean, that's what I mean. Like, I almost feel like David Bowie might have been a better representation of something like that. But hey, he's fine as Sting. It's Sting. I mean, it's Sting. He's got a presence, and that's what you need.
I got to come back when we do a Labyrinth stream.
Yeah. But no, like, I love the aesthetic. Like, it almost feels like a 1930s/40s, like, production design, which I love about it. That's kind of what makes it feel timeless, I think, in a weird way, even though the film didn't do well when it first came out. But that's probably why it gained a cult following later, even with people who aren't necessarily fans of the book, right? It was such an oddball film that the way it was done, especially post Star Wars, like, people had expectations going into sci-fi films. And we just talked about this the other night on Toxic Tuesday with the Flash Gordon remake from the 1970s, which I kind of feel like you can almost pair with this movie in a weird way in a double feature, just of the kind of yeah, because they both have this production aesthetic that feels like something straight out of the 1930s or 40s. Like,
well, both are Dino De Laurentiis films.
Yeah, well, of course, there's that part too. They both have that grandiose feel to them. But yeah,
he likes those big sets, man.
And they both have a retrofuturism to it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That retrofuturism feel. Yeah.
Isn't this the movie that broke his studio though? This was like the one that just crashed and burned. It essentially like wrapped up Dino's studio, right?
No, he did a few movies after this.
He did a couple, but it did tremendous damage.
It did, yeah.
Because this was a movie that was supposed to save him, and it didn't end him, but it sent the studio on a path from which there was never any real recovery.
This was, I mean, they were trying to like make Star Wars again. This was kind of when they hired, because Lucas wanted Star Wars, which in a like, I feel like David Lynch
is Star Wars borrows from Dune.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a whole rabbit hole, but just in terms of, I feel like Lucas is kind of wanted to be the kind of director originally that David Lynch did become. I feel like Lucas had great admiration for Lynch.
You know what? I don't believe that. I think Lucas was interested in combining as many things as possible. Remember, Dune is one of the works that he took from. The major work that provided a lot of the skeletal structure to Star Wars was Flash Gordon, the comic strip.
And Hidden Fortress.
And John Carter
stories.
And John Carter of Mars.
Yeah, exactly. The Bassoon stories.
Yeah, all of that was used to create Star Wars.
I think he's got a little bit of a point, though. If George didn't have some pushback, I think that Star Wars would have turned out more like this. Because look at the dang prequels. Episode 1 feels like it's a remake of this in a weird way, just even aesthetically, like with that
there's
old
a Trade
retro
Federation
future look.
Suddenly crying out loud.
Yeah, I mean, and if you hear about what I love George Lucas. He's great idea guy, but he really wanted to dig into like more of the political intrigue of things. That's obviously what episode 1 was kind of about, but like his dialogue and stuff, I think it would have been much more like this had other people not gotten involved.
But that also goes back to what I was saying earlier. That is the mark of when that book, this story, hit. To me, I'm not surprised that George would gravitate a little towards this, because you got to look at a lot of the people that he was hanging out with when he started his filmmaking journey. There's a kind of West Coast kind of hippy dippy kind of attitude with a lot of the filmmakers that he hung out with. So to me, I think that George just did whatever he could. I don't think it was so much, that he reached out and wanted to be David Lynch. There is an inherent kind of 60s type thing that goes with this story. And it's something that he gravitates towards when you really look at all of the ideas that he has, even for Star Wars.
Well, when I say that, though, I mean, I'm coming from knowing George Lucas as someone who originally wanted to be a documentary filmmaker. He loved racing cars, and he was very much liked what he still to this day refers to as tome poems, which are these kind of very dreamy, disjointed, surrealist short films. But he also had a very much an entrepreneurial mind, and he wanted to break new ground. So that's where him and David Lynch part ways. But I do think that George Lucas does have great admiration for David Lynch, and that's why he wanted to court him for directing Return of the Jedi. So that's
would have been so strange. That would have been one strange movie.
What are these trees here on Endor? Big, majestic.
I think it would have turned out just the way it did, but that's why David said no, because he knew he'd have zero control.
Yeah, he felt like he would pretty much just be following orders.
Yeah, the only time you ever saw George Lucas relinquish control was with his teacher Irvin Kershner.
Yeah,
and
I think
he
that's
would
why
never do that
Empire
again.
turned out the way it did. To be honest with you,
It's
because
so much. It is why.
not to
It
go
is the
down that
only
hole,
reason.
but like yeah, because that cut that we have of the film is the version that he didn't want to put out, but that's the cut that tested the best. That was the Kershner cut. Yeah,
Exactly.
The
But
meeting with Lynch didn't go very well. Like he literally describes it as he gets in and like he's overwhelmed because he doesn't even know what these things are. Like he didn't know what a Wookiee was.
yeah, I want to thank Radioactive for his $10 super chat. Super chat for PCM Super Chat's sake. Keep up the good work. And I owe you guys a video, so here's your video of the day for all your super chats.
I'm not in the mood. Not in the mood. Mood's a thing for cattle and love play, not fighting. I'm sorry, Gurney. Not sorry enough.
I gotta ask Andre before we lose him. Do you kind of figure like them bumping? Because you got to remember when Lynch did this, he wasn't exactly mainstream yet. So was that kind of like their mistake? He was kind of the flavor of the moment, and they bumped him up to something like this too soon? Andre, do you think that might have been?
And how much do you think Mel Brooks had to do with it?
Honestly, no, because if you just look at the movie as a whole, I don't think that David Lynch did any mistakes. Not really. The mistakes of the movie are in the editing. The one that really screwed this, if we're honest, is Dino De Laurentiis. Now, first, credit where credit is due. This movie wouldn't have happened without Dino De Laurentiis. He took chances where no one else took. He's the reason we got the Conan movie. He's the reason we got this movie. But he is also the one that, without thinking of anything else, just decided it cannot be more than 2 hours long. He said, okay, you know what? Film, make it 4 hours and we cut it into 2 movies and release that. I think history would have been very different if he had done that. But I don't think that any director could do this story justice in 2 hours. I think that is asking for something that cannot be done. Most movies should be aimed for around 90 minutes. And if you want to go for a movie that cannot be told in 90 to 120 minutes, you have to have a very good reason that the story you're telling is so advanced that it has to go beyond that. Well, Dune is one of those examples where it has to go beyond that. I mean, if we're honest, look at the difference between the theatrical cut of Dune and the Spice Diver cut, which we're looking at right now. What's the big difference? It's the running time. That's the issue. The Spice Diver cut has that natural pace and flow which just works in a way that the theatrical cut of Dune doesn't. That's really not David Lynch's fault. I mean, yeah, I guess you can blame him in the sense that he needed to have made it clear much earlier on that, fine, I don't need final edit, but I do need a say in the movie. Has to be a minimum of 3 hours, and anything less than that cannot be done.
Well,
they needed to have that agreement in first. So this ain't his fault. I don't blame David Lynch for how the theatrical cuts turned out, and I don't think any other director could have done significantly better. Tom,
I'm just saying because at that point, the only things he had really done were like Eraserhead, Elephant Man.
Well, I
mean,
think
really small indie.
And again,
type
you
stuff.
bring that up, and that's why I brought up Mel Brooks's name, because Mel Brooks took a gamble with him with Elephant.
Well, this is something
See,
that
I wasn't
actually,
sure if he wasn't ready for it yet. That was my question. Yeah, but yeah,
well, I think that this is, if you look at the scenes that we're seeing right now, which I think are probably the closest we're ever going to get between a fusion of H.R. Giger and David Lynch, and I think this is a holdover from when Jodorowsky was doing it. But David Lynch, I think where he was very successful and where I think he's not appreciated because a lot of people don't. The shorthand he uses, his visual vocabulary isn't one that general audiences can kind of get on board with immediately. But when you see things like the spice visions, or when he's out in the desert after they've crashed the ornithopter and they're, Paul knows that his father is dead and he knows that his mother is carrying his unborn sister. And man, did this moment freak me out when I was a kid, because of course my parents thought they were taking me to see Star Wars. But it's these things that really kind of dive into the psychedelic mysticism that's in the book as well. I think condensing it, that shorthand.
Chris, please forgive me for interrupting you, but Andre he has to go, so we should give him our goodbyes and our thanks.
Nice
Andre?
to meet you, Andre. Long
Yeah,
time listener,
likewise.
first time caller.
Oh yeah. To be honest, I'm using Gerry to get to Andre.
Well, I'm flattered. Thanks for the kind words, everyone. And now when I leave, I'm sorry to have to leave so early, but I'd love to hear the rest of you guys in the replay chime in as well. I just want to highlight, look at this movie right here. This is something, what we're looking at right here. This is political commentary.
Yes.
Baron Harkonnen, in David Lynch's vision, as space aids. You have to keep in mind when the movie was made. It's unbelievable that imagine something like this being made today. I wouldn't have flown very well, would it?
And it's really wonderful because there is that commentary also both in Blade Runner and The Thing as well.
Yeah.
Well, you have a great weekend, Andre. And again,
Yeah,
I'm
thanks,
very happy
dude.
to have met you.
Thanks for putting up with us.
Oh, anytime.
It's deeply appreciated, Andre, and we still need to plan for another Blade Runner special, as well as some of the other films we love to talk about. All right, man.
Yeah,
take
especially
care.
now when we know that Blade Runner 2099 is happening. So that's
it is, whether we wanted it to or not.
Well, I kind of did want it. I appreciate the larger Blade Runner universe.
There are things I wanted, and they don't seem to be interested in talking about. And it bugs me because this revolution that's coming, that should be more important in the story.
Yeah. But still, I'm a big fan of this movie, and I'm so glad to see you guys talking about the Spice Diver cut. This cut needs more attention because honestly, in my opinion, it is the only version of the David Lynch movie that should be seen from here on out because it is that much better than any other version, especially the theatrical version.
And it's the only Dune I care about, quite honestly. I'm not trying to be edgy by saying that or anything, but this is the movie I love. This is the one I'm sticking with.
And we're on the same page. We're on the same page there. Like, I like David Villeneuve's. I appreciate it for being a better adaptation. But this is the movie I love.
Yeah, this is the visual film that from our youth, man, and it matters.
Indeed. All right, I have to drop out. Take care, everyone. Thanks for having me, and have a great rest.
Travel safe, my friend.
I'll message you
later.
sometime, Andre. Just keep
Sure. If I could jump in here very briefly here, Gerry. Going back to the introduction scene for the Baron, I remember seeing that the first time at the Fox Theater, 11 years old, and wondering what the hell am I looking at? What is
that heart
this
plug
just
is so
turn,
disturbing.
isn't it? I know. And
that whole idea that all the Harkonnen serfs are essentially walking around with a way to instantly kill them anytime one wants to just.
Well, it's not even so much that; it's the orgasmic rush he gets from doing it. Right?
Yeah,
That's what makes it more sadistic.
Oh, he's a sadist in the book as well. And I actually have to hand it to Shinosky, who sent me a interview. It was a lecture, was it 85 talk that Frank Herbert did. And there was actually a gay man in the audience that even then, it was like trying to stir up shit, just going at like, your negative depictions of homosexuals in your book is endangering the gay community. And he was just like, he wasn't apologizing for it. He was just saying that's not just gay people that are sadistic and villainous like that, but I wanted to show that.
Well, the Baron is borderline incestuous too. So is that guy implying that?
No. Oh no, no, it's worse. It's worse. In the book, he gets a little boy that looks just like Paul. I don't need to say anything else.
Well, yeah, I mean, we all know that. But I'm going off of the point is like, I just hate it when people say that. They're like, that's disgusting that you're portraying this character this way. It's like, so you're saying that all gay people are this, or all gay people are that, or all gay. It's like,
it's like,
yeah,
it's like when they have, there'll be something with apes, and they're like, that's supposed to be a black person. It's like, you're the one that saw the ape and thought black.
Yeah,
it's like
to me, the creepier part is that he's an incestuous freaking sadist, not that he's gay, right? Like that has little to do with it. It's the fact that he's coveting his nephew, and just the rush that he gets from killing these innocent serfs or whatever, like you called them. But yeah,
and the
Harkonnens are really representation of, I think, the Romans. And with Baron Harkonnen, he's more like Nero. There's a Nero
glutton, right?
Yeah,
and gluttony and lust, right?
It's all of the negative connotations of what we humans are poured into the Harkonnens. Whereas the Baron and his family are, or at least what we should strive to be, and in many ways, they're like a lot of it's like the Russians prior to World War I. There's a lot of stuff that the book pulls on that the author was able to put into that story, and in basing it in a lot of historical references that have actually happened, it helps give a timeless quality to the entire story. And that's part of the reason why the book has lasted as long as it has. And allowed someone like David Lynch, who has an incredible imagination, to come along and say, I can do this, and I can do this, and I can do this. I love David Lynch
as well. David Lynch wrote
this. I love David Lynch's version, but I will continue to say that anyone with an incredible imagination could probably take this story to the next. It's just the fact that a lot of the hard work and heavy lifting has already been done by the book itself. You just got to be able to match what the book has. You have to be enough of a creative to take it on. That's the real power.
I just love that you think that David Lynch is that deep. Instead, I'm sitting here picturing him on the set going, I don't give a fuck what the studio says. I want him to look like two testicles side by side, going sideways. Fuck them.
No, if I was doing Dune,
it's a talking vagina.
At the minimum, 6 1-hour episodes. At the minimum, preferably 10 to 12.
I don't know. I don't see David Lynch as this deep thinking guy sometimes, but I love him to death because I love his YouTube channel. You ever check it out?
Oh yeah,
he does the weather and the number.
Yeah, let's not forget he's friends with Seth MacFarlane.
I mean, the dude comes out and he goes, "The weather today will be mostly cloudy and a chance of rain." Today's number is 12.
Where he puts panties in his mouth. It's like, I'm David Lynch. I gotta put panties in my mouth. He just does it.
Wishing you golden
he's wickedly funny
and blue skies.
He's wickedly funny.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think he's a troll. Like, you watch this movie. Here's another story I got at David Lynch. This is hilarious. We actually got this directly from Brad Dourif because Andre and I were talking to him for this movie through the In Search of guys. It was a conference thing we were on, so it wasn't like face to face because it was in the midst of COVID too. On top of it all,
right? We had that producer on this show one time for his Aliens show.
Yeah,
they do good work.
Yeah, they do. But he was talking about a few of the things with Dune, and he mentioned that he came up with the whole I set my mind in motion to my that whole thing. He did that as a response to Paul's little chant.
Mm-hmm.
So like he wrote that himself, and he came up with the whole thing with the his character's been drinking too much of the juice, so that's why he's all
stained,
and fidgety and like all that kind of stuff. But he said that David Lynch was so fucking crazy that he wanted to get Jürgen Prochnow. He's like, to make this work, we got to have the gas come out the right way. Trust me, we'll just puncture a little hole in your cheek. We'll put the tube in, it'll heal up. Nobody will know the difference. Jürgen was all for it, and everybody's like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Brad's like, I wouldn't fucking do it.
That's
So that's why I say anybody who thinks David Lynch, he's got to be like the most wackiest fucking guy to work with in the world.
So I'll tell you a quick story about
before you tell it, I want to point this out. This is one of my favorite characters, and we just see so little as he shot up Mapes.
The housekeeper.
It's so much cooler in the books, but I do love that. What's her name? Linda Hunt? Is that her name?
Yeah.
Now,
Linda Hunt.
Clearer
Oh
in
shit!
this book.
John slipped in.
Truman Capote.
I've been here the whole time. You just now noticing?
It's stab it that way. It's clearer in this cut too that the knife is a gift, but that if Jessica didn't pass their test, they were going to assassinate her right there.
Which they leave it out of the new version, which I don't know why.
It's, to me, these are things that are really kind of, because the whole premise of Dune to me is the political intrigue, the fact that it's this feudalist system with this this order of the Bene Gesserit who are literally breeding nobles, like arranging genetic breeding to create superior beings, just like how people would breed dogs or how gardeners would get like better roses.
And by means also infiltrating those governments.
Oh yeah.
Mating with them.
Not trying to be an overt matriarchy, but being the great woman behind the great men. And, the fact that essentially what the Butlerian jihad, which is, the rise of the robots who should not make a machine that thinks like a man, which is very interesting to me as someone now who works with AI all the time. But the fact that they essentially are the same way that we meddled with AI and produced thinking machines, they're meddling with genetics. And the same thing we see the same thing happen to them. They think they can breed the Kwisatz Haderach and be able to control it and manipulate it to their means. And they end up getting something again that creates another jihad that blows up in their face, something that they didn't expect.
Now, I don't know if they're going to, I've got to ask, are they going to include that Lady Jessica is the bastard daughter of the Baron? Because it was in the miniseries on Sci-Fi.
I don't know. We haven't gotten that far in the second part of the movie. I think that's when it's revealed, is later in the book.
It's later in it, yeah. I'm curious if they're going to include that.
I don't remember it in this movie. It's not in this version.
It's not in this one either. No, it's only in the Sci-Fi Network one.
Sci-Fi Channel.
But yeah,
one.
and what I meant by the knife scene, because the knife scene is in the new movie, but she doesn't say. It's missing the line where Jessica goes, "If it's not a gift, then it's for my demise," or whatever. However she put it. Yeah. And they just cut out that last line, which kind of bothers me. But it's like just little things like that. But no, Linda Hamilton's great in this, and that's what I love about this extended cut too. Is her character gets a lot more to do, and you get a lot more.
Me too, dude. I love
how the Fremen are this mix of both like Middle Eastern cultures and tribes mixed with like native tribes, and it had to do with Herbert had also been working with I can't remember who was it at that time that inspired him for this whole thing, because there was that uprising in the Middle East at the time that this is loosely based on, and that's why all the words like jihad and all that stuff are in the book. I wish Andre was still here. He knows all this shit.
Well, it's funny too. Was an expert on religion. Like he did. Yeah, I think he said he read like 300 books for research on Dune.
Oh yeah, I mean he was an enthusiastic researcher. I think he probably would have been happy with the research and not writing the book, but he needed to justify it somehow.
But you know what? That explains why someone, that explains something like Babylon 5. I mean, it's the same kind of thought process. You have to, it's not like aliens and alien civilization, other worlds exist in our reality. You have to take from history to get some of the best stuff out there. And so that formula that was used to create a story like Dune is the same formula that was used to create really the entirety of the background for Babylon 5 and many of its characters. And so that's the reason why I'm saying that, the book does a majority of the heavy lifting. Nothing against David Lynch, but the book itself is what has really done a majority of the heavy lifting. You almost have to be someone who has no real creativity in your body to be able to do a version of this that doesn't somehow have something great attached to it, without even trying, in a sense. But that's what I love about this, because it's so different. Every culture feels deeper than what it is, but that's because the book itself, took a lot of stuff from many different areas.
That's you brought up area where truncating the entire story, you have to skip over things like, for instance, the missionary Proctiva, which they actually do cover a bit in the but they don't go into a lot of details on it, which is basically we go and we seed myths that we will then come to fruition and be. So all this stuff that's going on with the thing and we've set ourselves up as the Messiah.
Alisa Al-Gaib. Sorry.
Yeah, and as it's been pointed out to me in the background here, I believe that this was inspired mostly by the Arab Revolt during World War II. The famous one is seen in depicted in
Lawrence of Arabia. Yeah. Well, another one that's interesting to me, Keith, that you brought up too. You talk about alien races. One of the things that I found really fascinating and original about Dune is that there are no, it's 10,000 years later, we've expanded out into the universe and we have found no.
Technically, it's actually 20.
Is it 20? Oh,
yeah, because the way you go by it is, I believe it's 10,000 years since the uprising of the machines, but it's 20,000 plus years since our time or whatever. Andre's explained this to me. It's like this whole
forming of the guild.
That's how, or since the forming of the guild. Thank you. That's what it is. Yes. Sorry about that. Yeah.
So and this is something a lot of people miss, though, Tom, is that Dune actually takes place in the future.
It's like 22,000 years from our time. Yeah.
It's deep future, which is cool because I always hate, it's like Ridley Scott with the newest Aliens movies. He's like, oh yeah, this is like 90 years from now. It's like, no, it's not. That's not what the future is going to be 90 years from now.
Why is the tech so much more advanced in Covenant, even though it takes place before Alien? It's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Well, and looking at this scene, I am reminded that really the basic thought process in presenting Paul and his family in all of this is they seem to be really based on the Romanov family, Tsar Nicholas. The look of Jürgen Prochnow is very much like Tsar Nicholas, and his story and the story of his family and what ultimately happened. I think that's really what Lynch was looking at.
Absolutely. There's clear cross lines between the assassination of the family and that the Baron is trying to do the exact same thing with them that was done to the Romanov.
It's a little bit of the War of the Roses too in there.
Yes.
And I think it is world. Yeah, I think you're right. Radioactive. I think that's more correct.
Atreides is named after Atreus.
Atreus.
You got us there.
Yeah.
People don't know what you're saying. If you bring up a name, say who it is.
Atreus, the son of Zeus, and then Pluto.
Okay, good, because I had no idea who the hell you were talking about.
Sorry, I forget most people don't remember a lot of Roman or Greek mythology outside of the big players.
Right.
Pretty much.
It's a lot, man.
Outside of like Zeus, the Beatles, I don't know any of them.
Trevor God was in an episode of Star Trek.
I always liked the character of Dr. Zaius.
Dr. Zaius.
Oh, I was going to go there too.
All right, so I've got some more clips for the thank yous because we did get some great little super chats, and I hope you guys keep it up because I like seeing what you guys have to say. Here is another one for the previous super chats.
More deep.
My name is a killing word.
Yeah, and that's where the
I freaking love that clip.
That's where the weirding module really pays off. Like, it's not, I know they were probably looking for something that was like their version of the lightsaber. Like Star Wars has the lightsaber, we have the weirding module. But just to bring that as a story.
And the Chris knife. Let's not forget the Chris knife.
The Chris knife is cool, but the fact that they use the weirding module and then he goes, "My name is a killing word," and then at the end of the film, he doesn't even need the weirding module anymore when he kills Fade Rafa, and he just yells "break," and his body breaks and the ground splits beneath him. That's like just.
And the temple was rent, is what that reminds me of.
Yeah.
By the way, Ron Miller ended up with the Chris knife, the hero Chris knife in the film.
Well,
and one of the happiest moments of my life was getting to hold the actual Chris knife in this hand right here. It was badass.
The same hand. Oh, never mind. Anyway, just
that's this hand.
The other thing about the weirding modules, though, just speaking of having it have that biblical feel to it, is the whole idea is that they're attacking. It's like them attacking the walls of Jericho. It's like the horns of Jericho. They're bringing the walls down. With giant worms.
It's funny you're saying that with Captain Picard in the scene.
Before he was a robot, right?
I'm talking about the episode where they speak in metaphor and the walls. You remember? Come on, everybody remembers that episode of Star Trek Next Generation.
His arm is wide open. Is that?
Yes, there you go. There you go.
Called Darmok.
The weirding module also is a great way of allowing, it was a great way of allowing an incredible force of people to have even an opportunity against a large invasion force who was just technically superior. That was the one thing in the book that I think Herbert, was trying to make sure to make believable about the entire thing. Because years and years of our history has shown that technology can play a great deciding factor in many conflicts. Now, sometimes numbers can be the dominant thing in any sort of conflict. But if you have a piece of technology, oh my goodness, doesn't matter what side you're on. That will probably bend the war towards.
Everybody's always looking for the superior weapon.
Yeah.
Well, it's not
I want to point out here in this moment in the film, it's the only time you see these two together. You got two of Europe's best actors. You got Jürgen Prochnow and Max von Sydow.
Wow.
In this scene. And I love this moment in the film because you got two great European actors going at it.
It hurts because there's a lot of ow.
I will punish you, Tom.
But again,
remember when he played Jesus? Both men played Jesus. You know that, right?
Yes.
As far as that last comment, sorry, that you just had up there. I was going to say we're a long way from mentats. We can't even get people to stop biting into Tide Pods. So I'm still leaning heavily on the AI technology that I use.
Well, the way we're going with AI, we might end up with mentats before we know it. So.
Or man-tits.
Well, we already got those.
Heat Seeker made a comment that it's been highlighted, and I want to make sure that we do show this one, which is wanted to let us know that, yes, and we knew this, that David Lynch is in the movie, and he's the one who delivers the line, "Yes, sire, but we cannot leave all this spice."
Damn the spice. Sorry.
That's right.
Which is another pivotal moment in swaying the Judge of the Change, which is Max von Sydow's character. Because
exactly, because he's already connected in with the Fremen. And so we get to hear this internal monologue, where they're talking to themselves. Maybe he is, and I don't know. I love this movie.
Well, this is an important friendship here because, right, like this is where the politics comes involving here because, Paul doesn't want to get involved in the politics, but little does he know he's already taking part in it by doing all this stuff because, he's trying to make alliances with the Fremen and get things in the desert back to stable so they're not attacking them while they're trying to get the spice going, while also dealing with the fact that the Harkonnens left them with shit material to work with, right?
Yeah.
Not to mention
all the good stuff. Yeah.
Not to mention all the booby traps all around.
Yeah, not to mention all the sabotaging going on. And that's the other thing is little do they realize that that's planting that seed for later on, which allows Paul to, bring the uprising and basically bring down the Harkonnen in the process. Yeah.
The whole
so it's kind
Cronin,
of all full circle in that respect.
the Harkonnen storyline about them abandoning and how they left Arrakis was one of the things that also led to how they were able to put together Star Trek Deep Space Nine with the Cardassians leaving Tarek Nor.
Yep. Yeah, and then of course there's the Jenners, but sorry, I couldn't help it.
One scene I've always wanted to see, and it's in neither version of this story, is the dinner scene when they finally meet all the people who are basically running Arrakis and realizing slowly, bit by bit, they all want to kill them. They all want to, and it's an amazingly tense, awkward.
That's like every dinner. There's always people at a dinner table that want to kill each other secretly.
By the way, just as an aside, I want to say I'm seeing a lot of comments about AI in the chat. I have done several live streams on this channel and on my own channel regarding the realities of AI. I work with it. I know a lot about it. There's a lot of hyperbole.
And there are different
it.
versions of AI.
Yeah, and it's a rabbit hole for sure. It's not something that I want to set off on here, but I do see a lot of hyperbole about it, which just bothers me because it's people talking about AI in ways that are just wrong. Like this is just not how AI works or how it's going to go. It does factor, of course, into this story, but there's David Lynch in his role, which is, again,
there he is. He has no idea who he's talking to. I love this scene.
Hey, who's on that uncharted flight?
Yeah, right. Reverend Burnfried Axwielder is here, and he says 2 Germans, World War II Germans, and it's actually it's 1 German. Jürgen Prochnow is the only German there. Because Max von Sydow is Swedish.
Yep. I love Max.
He's Swedish.
Yep.
I loved his moment when he really came to the height of his fame in that Star Wars walk-on and Force Awakens with that pivotal map. And I mean, who can forget that great appearance?
There's 6 nailing it again. Well, of course.
By the way, I have to say, in the animation I'm working on at the moment, Escape from Planet Omega 12, I do have my own version of a worm because every science fiction movie needs some form of worm.
Worms. Sandworms. I hate them too. By the way, I had all the toys when Dune came out. I still have my Fade action figures about that tall.
Tom, did you ever get Chris Gore to put his Shah Halud into his popcorn bucket?
No, I don't think so. I tried talking him into it, but
hey guys,
I don't think he was ready.
He's just got to relax a little.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, we got to do our break here. Martine, do your thing.
What?
It's the first hour.
What?
So at top of the hour, halftime.
Here we go.
Meet the Seattle Vigilante. Like so many comic heroes, this warrior hides his identity. But his identity isn't the only secret he has to keep. After grievous wounds received during combat, Tier 1 operator John Russell begins to recover and comes to terms with his new reality of being an amputee. And as he learns how to use his new prosthetic limb, he finds himself caught up in the bureaucratic red tape that too many wounded veterans experience, the exhausting medboard process. Out of sheer frustration, John takes it out on the criminal scum of the city. But when reality kicks in, John realizes he started something that's having an impact on the greater world around him, and thus has to reevaluate his motives. And moreover, just how far is John willing to go to finish this war he's declared against the criminals in Seattle? And will he even survive? From the creator of IDW's award-winning graphic novel Code Word Geronimo comes a new story about a different kind of warrior, Vindicated Inc., the first of its kind disabled veteran action hero comic. The Vindicated Inc. graphic novel crowdfunding campaign on fundmycomic.com is provided in the description of this video. We hope you become a contributor. Please share this link. Thank you.
Try looking into that place where you dare not look. You'll find me there staring back at you.
You mustn't speak!
That's what we call a verbal bitch slap.
You could now say "begone thought." It would translate the same way.
Good, really good stage English from McLaughlin there.
I've really, that was his essentially his first role as well, and that was
this was his big break,
and that led to Lynch working with him on Blue Velvet and then Twin Peaks, and of course other actors from this movie.
Yes. Well, let's not forget my dear friend Sean Young, because she was in Blade Runner and then this film, two of the biggest sci-fi films of the 80s.
And she was Ray Finkel.
And she was in Stripes.
Hey, listen, I actually have to get going myself.
Thank God.
Right.
Oh my goodness,
Chris. Harsh, brochacho. Listen.
I love you, buddy. I'm teasing you.
Yeah. May the worm Shai Halud find its way into you.
Is this a gay thing?
Ew.
Absolutely.
As long as you're honest.
Your back door. Hey, listen. I really am glad to have been able to. I had to pop in on this one because this is one of my top sci-fi movies. I absolutely love it. Great to be with all of you again. And I got to sort of do my bit again, my discount Dune popcorn bucket, complete with that's butter. That's just never mind. Anyway,
it looks like something goes in that hole.
Of course,
the spice must flow.
The spice has flown. All right.
This is so bitter.
Before I go, I'll just do my general. I'll plug my movie as David Lynch. I want you to all go on video on demand. Go to Tubi, go to Amazon Prime or Apple TV and watch The Quantum Terror. If you like weird, wow. All right, gentlemen.
That's really a good Lynch impression. And yes, if you've not seen his film, it's available definitely because I've seen it on Tubi. So go see that film.
You can watch it on Tubi or not Tubi. All right, gentlemen.
Okay, you got to go after that one. I'm done.
Yeah.
That had a smell to it. Jeez. Richard Jordan, Duncan, Idaho. One of my favorite characters in the books.
Oh, yeah.
Man who died too young from brain tumor.
Yeah. Because he could have been the new he could have I think he ended up doing just a few episodes of The Equalizer before he passed. And he could have been the new Equalizer easily.
Yeah. It did seem like they were setting his character up to maybe take over. Yeah.
Yeah. Good show. That's a really good show. Not enough people give that show credit.
It gets a great shout out in Wolf. It gets a great shout out in Wolf of Wall Street, though. And Meathead's like, don't call me Johnny the Equalizer. I mean, come on, it was immortalized by that.
Wow, it's awful quiet, guys.
A little.
Yes, it is. Great father and son story again. Like DS9, a great father and son story.
Going into the Villeneuve version for a minute, I love that scene in the cemetery with Leto and Paul. That gets me every time.
It's one of the strong points of the book. Herbert made sure to put that in there. You can't have a version of this with Paul hating his father. It ruins the story. It really is one of the 3 points that you have to understand. And in a weird sort of way, I still do believe that's part of what Lucas was trying to keep within Star Wars. Ultimately, Luke's love of his father was what saved him. The belief that his dad was still, his father still had good within him. And again, that gets back to the fact that Luke really is a version of Paul Atreides.
You don't
And so is
know
Anakin.
the power of the dark side. There are things I have done, son, that I just can't quite go back from. There's the killing of the younglings thing. Oh, there was the blowing up of the entire planet. I forgot about that. Sorry. Oh, killing all the Jedis, that too.
I mean, Anakin
There's still a
basically
little
goes
bit
on
of
a
me.
jihad against the Jedi.
Mistakes were made.
Mistakes were made, yeah. But I think there's some good in you, Dad.
I feel really bad about
Really,
it.
after all of that, you still think there's good.
How many millions did Luke kill by destroying the Death Star?
Just one.
Okay, whoa, time out.
100,000, right?
Look.
And there
What
was
if
the
we kind of
time that I
knew-
killed the baby kitten.
Whoa, Dad, that's enough. You are evil. You are evil, sir.
Good day, sir.
Wait. So the blowing up of the planet, the killing of the Jedi, and the younglings doesn't bother you, but the kitten does.
And the workers on the Death Star.
The internet is so
The
fucked up.
young ones.
That
Order
is
66
literally
was less
why they did
effective
the
every
entire
year.
Geonosis thing.
Hey, I want to thank Christian Delorme and his vinyl revival for buying 15 members. He says, I loved you guys for a long time. And
I'm
for
so
you,
glad.
sir,
Long
me
time.
love you long time. Yeah, there you go.
That's
Here you
right.
go.
He's sucky.
He's sucky.
You have
No,
girlfriend,
sobrado,
Diana?
tu buku. This is your video, my friend. Here you go.
I will kill you.
There you go. A little sting.
Shouldn't you have called it the Stinger?
Sting a ding,
Seeing
ding,
that-
ding, ding.
Walking into this at the time, not knowing that Sting had any acting experience, and I don't know if he'd done anything else, I was like kind of amazed by his performance. He's so intense, and he's really.
He
just
did a
puts
little
the part-
movie called Brimstone and Treacle to you.
Yep.
I
Before this.
know of that movie. I just didn't know which one came first, but I was aware of that movie. But yeah, this walking into this, I had no context. I thought he did a great job in this. I love this performance personally. But hey, he was Sting, right?
Was
Funny
Quantum
story
Mania
about
first?
that.
Before we really got to know how weird he was.
Thank you for thinking about that.
Patrick Stewart on this was so isolated. When he met Sting, he didn't know who he was or that the police was advanced. So literally the conversation went this. All right, I'm Patrick Stewart. I'm Sting. Because he's like expecting the game. It's like, oh, cool. Nice to meet you, Sting. What? And then he goes, I'm in a band. Oh, you're in a band? That's cool. The police. And then he like
Patrick-
tilts his head and
Patrick's
goes,
like, "Don't
oh,
knock on
you're
me,
in a
man."
police band.
I'm
That's
glad I don't
Patrick
like
Stewart,
Patrick anymore.
I think Quadrophenia was the first.
That actually reminded me of another story that
Keith's
we
right.
were told by Brad Dourif, because he said that Sting was working on an album at that time, so they were the first ones to hear Every Breath You Take and stuff like that, because he had brought demo tapes and stuff to the set.
And he lost it. He lost his bag. He lost some of his music while traveling. I read the making of Dune. Okay, I was that kid back then. So I mean, while other people were getting toys, I went out and got the making of book and just read right through that thing because I enjoyed the movie. You know, loved all those stories about the cast and the making of, and the fact that some of the close-up scenes with the worms, in order to create a lot of the outer shells and stuff, they used a lot of prophylactics to make that.
Okay, let me explain that. The prophylactics were used specifically for the scene when he puts the pike in there and stretches it. That stretching
That
you
stretching
see
that you see is the prophylactics.
is those. Yeah.
Hey, it's a good dad moment there. Just spit on your kid day.
By the way, we have a super chat from Christian. Hello.
Kinky finger biting always puts a smile on Christian's face. Yeah, $5. Thank you, Christian.
That's our sting.
You know, the music he lost could only have been from that final Police album where it was greatest hits, and they broke up over the remix of "Don't Stand So Close to Me." So it may have been for the best. Imagine the way he would have like maybe subverted himself and Ryan Johnsoned himself if he had had the rest of those songs. Right? I mean, no one. It's the I Want My MTV style remake of "Don't Stand So Close to Me." I think we all prefer the original.
Well,
I'm not a fan of that mix because they had to change the lyrics for it to work.
Andy Summers attacked him physically, and that was the end of the band for a few years when he heard it.
Yeah.
Didn't they color?
I'm sorry, that was the drummer. I forget which one was the drummer.
Stuart Copeland.
Stuart
That's it.
Copeland
Yeah,
is the
Stuart
drummer.
Copeland was
Andy is a
the
guitarist.
American member of the Police hot-bloodedly attacked Sting when he heard the remake, and they were just like, okay. They had a fight, and I think someone got their leg broken.
And of course, Stuart Copeland did the music for the Equalizer TV series, and that's called a callback, ladies and gentlemen.
There you go. There we
Nice
go.
payoff deleted.
Thank you.
Got check before I did.
No.
Oh, yeah, they had activity books for this film.
Yeah, they had all kinds of merchandise for this film. I mean, they were really hoping that this movie would take off. And I had the Toto soundtrack. I thought the Toto soundtrack was incredible.
The only other big band from the 80s that did a soundtrack for a film other than Queen.
Yeah, it was shocking how good it was in light of the music we'd heard from Toto, where, you know, unless you sat down and listened to like B-sides or something, you wouldn't have any idea that they had the substance to be. This is a very good soundtrack.
I very much prefer the OST to this than the Denelvu, the raw.
Well, that's oh man, it's the guy from the Dark Knight films that does that music. It's,
Hans Zimmer?
Hans Zimmer. Hans Zimmer actually did the music for Dune, and he's done the music for Dune 2.
So Roland Emmerich's gift to us all. Thanks, Raleigh.
Okay, so I wanted to go back because I was actually trying to make a video for this, Martin. I want to go back to Christian Delorme's $5 super chat. Kinky fingers biting always puts a smile on my face. So there you go. And here's your video.
Keith, does that,
isn't that Paul Smith
sorry.
that played that?
Isn't that who?
Paul Smith that played Beast Raban.
You know what?
Yes, it is.
And guess what? He's also the one that played Bluto.
He is.
That's right, in Popeye the movie.
He's mean, he's mean, he's mean. You know,
he came up through the spaghetti westerns and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He and Terrence Hill were best friends in real life.
Star Trek Enterprise stole that device that was in your video clip there, didn't they, Keith? Where for to Paul's little like habit, her like her like space crack smoking device was almost precisely the same.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if somebody in charge of the props was a bit of a Dune film fan. So
now I'm trying to remember, was it Pink Floyd that was going to do the Jodorowsky OST originally?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that would have been like the ultimate drug trip movie.
Oh, they would have had to hand out drugs with your ticket for you to. It's like, here are your glasses and here are your drugs.
A leakable ticket with acid on it.
You just lick the yellow spot, man, and it'll take you to the Dune land.
You know, one thing I know how to do is like fly when I'm stoned. Thank you very much, Keith. Keith Richards, everybody, to show you how to properly get ready for the movie.
When you said fly when you get stoned, all I can think of is the scene from Heavy Metal.
That's what technically I was quoting.
Plenty of Nyborg.
Good
Yep.
Nyborg, man.
Hey, Real Wade. Greetings.
Hello, Real Wade.
I always was curious, like, how do you have Sting in your movie and not have him at least do one song? Like, it'd be like, Dune.
Stewart. We got Patrick Stewart singing. Why not?
Yeah.
Yep. Remind me.
It's
I'm
so
so glad I
hot
don't like
in
him anymore.
There's another funny thing with
It's really
Stewart.
hot at noon in Dune.
When they cast Patrick
Can't
Stewart,
you see the sun is burning me?
when they cast him, they had seen him on stage. The thing is, they had seen him wearing a wig, so they remembered him. Was like, let's get Patrick Stewart here because they lost whoever they were originally going to do, and he comes in and he's bald because he's supposed to have long hair, but it was too late.
Don't do long hair. Long hair's for hippies, and Number 1, engage.
Get me a number 2.
Wow.
Hello, counselor. How about 50 Shades of Hot Earl Grey?
And they do a weird thing with this movie in that they basically, the majority of the times, devote to basically the first half of the book, and then they just warp speed through the rest.
Well, that's kind of the problem because it's so heavy-handed in this first part, and it doesn't feel like, because you're just getting fed quick bits of what's happening, but there's so much setup to just before they get to, and that's where it's kind of sectioned off. And I see why now Villeneuve decided to section it off where he did, right? Mm-hmm. Because the first half of the story is Paul pre-Desert Paul, and then post-Desert Paul is all the stuff afterwards. And I can see where that's where a lot of it got lost, was all the, because they went through with the scissors and cut out all the weird shit and just tried to make it an action film for the last half of the movie, basically.
Yeah, it's the wealthy young man becoming radicalized in the desert.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And they cut out the knife duel that he has, which is kind of one of the pivotal scenes because when he really commits to doing all this, it's not in this scene's not in the original, if I remember right.
No, it's from the TV cut.
Yeah, that is from the TV cut.
There's just bits of here you can almost tell what's been trimmed and added, and depending on the quality.
Yeah,
but that whole scene with him fighting the Fremen is not in the theatrical cut. No, I don't think.
Yeah, there was a fear, by him and his mother that they would be rejected because of the killing. We've got more people who dropped in. We've got Phantom Outsider, Victor Fontaine, good old Vic Fontaine, Pete Dencat, Christian Delorme's Vinyl Revival, of course, Daryl Brewer, James Castra, Real Wade of Real Wade Nation, of course. Welcome to the show, my friend. And Carlo Albanese.
Hello, everybody.
Like good old Muad'Dibs. They're running everything.
Muad'Dib.
That sounds like a club. Welcome to Club Muad'Dib.
Well, cause of jihad, untold billions died. It's Tuesday.
Another day at the office.
Yeah, I love the costumes. And by the way, there was a good criticism the other day that the Fremen suits make more sense in this film than the ones in the current. Like, where are they storing the water in the new suits?
Yep.
Well, they still got the bubbly kind of look to it. They look almost exactly the same.
Well,
Yeah,
they look
I agree
thinner,
with Tom.
is what they were
A little
commenting on.
thinner,
'Cause
but yeah.
in this one, it looks like puffed up inner tubes around them, all over their body.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will give the newer one credit for that. They really do emphasize a lot more how important water is. Everyone kind of seems to be, it seems kind of nice here, even though it's a desert planet.
Here, it's implied through like drinking mouse juice.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so creepy. The way he fondles Beast, Raban, and Fade.
That's what I mean. Like, if you relate to that, then that's your fault, dude. Like,
yeah, this is the Fade scene where he's like, "Oh, sweet Fade."
I don't know why the
and Sting is
they
just
went
like,
with that.
ogle me.
Because the Baron is not like that in the books. I don't like this Baron.
So you're saying it's Kenneth McMillan, the actor, that did this, that it was all method?
I don't know if it was method, if it was the director. I don't know who came up with this portrayal.
Method, Beth. What's the difference?
You can never depict on film the actual Baron because it would probably get you to NC-17, if not worse.
I was gonna say it's actually kind of implied that he likes young men in the books.
Yes,
Yeah.
no, he does, but he wasn't. He didn't have those. How did you put it, Gary? His inbred tendencies.
Well, I said incestuous.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah. In the book, that is not in the book. That is
Incest is best. Put your sister to the test. That was his motto.
Only it was his nephew.
Yeah, because he couldn't get it up for a chick.
Oh my
god.
Well, he
that's kinda
did.
what I
he
thought was
actually,
implied.
he actually did twice.
Yeah, and that's how. Well, that's how
right.
Lady
He is the
Jessica
father.
was made.
That's right. Yeah, that's true.
He raped.
forgot.
He got tricked first time by
Gaius,
Lady Mohim, who is Jessica's mother, by the way.
Yeah.
And then the second time, because the he was so pissed at being manipulated that he ended up raping her after with a lot of drugs.
You used the R word again. Jesus.
Please.
I said great.
Another thing from the books they can't really go into is just how pissed off the Bene Gesserit are with Lady Jessica, because she literally shat over what they've been spending countless generations doing.
Yeah, she gave up her basically everything for love of Duke Leto.
Yep.
And of course, by the way, a lot of people don't know this, that the actress that plays the princess in this is actress Virginia Madsen, who is the little sister of crazy tough guy actor Michael Madsen.
No way.
Really?
Totally way.
Yeah.
I knew about her since Raging Bull, but that connection.
He threatened quite a few people over her.
Yep.
I can imagine.
Wow.
He is the ultimate big brother.
He would show up during her early films, like the one she did with Don Johnson, and he would be on set for any lovemaking scenes to make sure his little sister was respected.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of creepy, though.
No, not really. He's protecting his little sister from being abused in the film system.
Yep.
Because
George Foreman in Excalibur is creepy.
Yeah.
You had assholes like Harvey Weinstein running around at that point, like,
exactly,
kind of being allowed to do.
He was there to make sure she was protected and not abused on the set. And that's what that was all about.
Yeah. Okay.
But he is a weird guy.
Yeah.
Matt Madsen's very strange, but a good big brother.
Just, you know,
And she was a gorgeous woman. You just don't see her in much. What's her name? Francesca Annis, I think is her name.
Yes.
Played Lady Jessica.
Yeah, she kind of disappeared, didn't she?
Yeah, she did this movie, and I think she had done Kroll just before. So
Under the Cherry Moon.
that was later on. So that's 1988. 88. Yeah.
He stuck pretty much to, foreign broadcasts like on the BBC and shit like that.
Because maybe she's from Europe, right?
But the producer of the film, again, Dino De Laurentiis, he would often do that typical Hollywood thing of handpicking specific women that he wanted for films, and she was one of the women that he wanted in there. It's sort of like the mother of Conan in Conan the Barbarian. He was directly involved with picking her to be in the film.
There she is,
Sean Young. When she was young Sean Young.
When her name is appropriate. The reverse of Gary Oldman.
I enjoy her version of Shawnee. I think her version of Shawnee is way better than the current version. Because
I concur.
Because Shawnee's not someone who's trying to be the advisor of Paul. She is Paul's lover. Not to make light of anything like that, but she has more of a care for Paul's heart and his emotional stability than for
but she kind of gets the shaft here. That's the thing, is I will give that, like, I don't know about the actress necessarily with Zendaya, but I will give Villeneuve credit in saying that, like, she does play a larger role.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that she never had any, she never participated in a lot of the planning. But the thing about, I think, the way the book comes across is that I think the book emphasizes that Paul needed a woman who, he needed someone to protect his emotional side, because everything else was being catered to. You had people that were catering to the religious aspects of what he was doing, the military aspects of what he was doing. He had nothing and no one. I mean, his mom's gone off to do what she's doing and becoming, the new Bene Gesserit for everything. And so he's still, this is one of the reasons why I think it's important to continue to talk about how old Paul is at the beginning of this story, and the only thing that I have about casting this particular actor in the role, who in my opinion still looks a little older than what Paul is in the actual story.
Isn't he a teenager? He's like 17.
No, Paul's 14.
He's
15. Is he 14?
14, 15, he's 18 by the time things are done.
Yeah, so he's still kind of young. He's supposed to be about 14 years old. So this is the only thing about Timothée Chalamet, in my opinion, that works, in that he does look that young. Kyle MacLachlan's good when you had time to age up the character. But prior to that, it's kind of strange,
The problem Timothée Chalamet has now is that he still looks super young. So if they go forward, like, he's just not going to come off as an adult, even though he actually is.
Yes. Well, that is the problem.
And what I'm saying about Shawnee herself as a character, like, I mean, she does understand the politics, right?
Yes.
And that's the thing. And she is guiding him through some of these things. And she also, and it's also important because his marriage to her through the Fremen is important, because she is basically, it's the same thing of what they were trying to do through the lady, the Bene Gesserit witches were trying to do, basically by wed her daughter to the Harkonnen, but instead she had a son. So then that son ended up marrying basically what would be the equivalent of the princess of the Fremen, because she is the daughter of Liet Kynes, who is basically seen as the one who walks between both the Fremen and the Emperor. And then he goes and turns around and does a marriage of politics to the Emperor's daughter.
Yeah.
So it's like a big F you to the Bene Gesserit at the end of the day. And he gets the best of both worlds out of it. And Shawnee totally understands what's going on here, right? Like, she's all for it, because she understands, like, I've got his heart. That's not what this is about. This is completely about politics when it comes to the other chick. But
That's the Game of Thrones aspect. That's the thing about really a lot of this, is that there is a lot of Game of Thrones type of machinations that, you get when you read the book that in order to turn it into a film, whether you're talking Lynch or even Villeneuve, a lot of that stuff gets cut out. That's a lot of what gets cut out of the story. There's a lot of machinations and a lot of different characters that are basically playing the Game of Thrones. Everybody's setting themselves up to try to become the winner. And for this story, you know, Paul has the inside track a little bit, you know.
and that's one of the shames of it, is that everyone keeps looking at Dune and go, we should make this a movie, when it should be a series. Like all the Dune books should just be a long form, high quality HBO Game of Thrones style television series. But they're not going to do that.
No, they're not. Well, nobody wants to make like the little things. Like one of the things I still miss, even with Denis Villeneuve's version, is the outerwear that is meant to go on top of the still suits. You know, they still haven't really done that very much. It's part of the whole religious thing, and it's how you're able to tell the difference between people. You know, even when you're out in the desert, that certain people have a type of the cloaks that they wear that have different types of colors and everything else that identifies who they are, where they're from, blah, blah, blah. And they again, no version of Dune done up to this point ever really invested any time in that.
Wasting water.
Jeff, PDX1, Paul is Khaleesi. Of a sort, yes.
Well, his Fall to Darkness is much better written than the crap they did in the Throne show.
Well, and here's where Lynch is kind of stuck in a Lynch, right? You know, the story, unless you carry it on past the first tale, it's not exactly what you think it is, because Paul is not the savior that everybody thinks he is. And that's kind of where Lynch's movie turns it around at the last minute and tries to make him out to be the savior that he isn't.
Yeah, it's a Christ allegory, this version, when the other one really isn't.
It's a proper ending for the version of the story that Lynch is telling. But as an adaptation of the book and everything else, it's not. It is completely out of left field.
Yeah. And I'm cool with changing things for your vision, whatever. The only thing I'm like definitively not cool with is it raining at the end. Because if you know about Arrakis and the ecology of it, you know that would basically destroy the production of spice because it would kill the worms.
Yep. Of course. Yes. And that also, you know, again, destroys any possibility of making a sequel, especially considering what ends up happening with the character of Paul in the long run of the story.
And that doesn't occur until after the Children of Dune, or at the end of Children of Dune.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the whole thing, is he's built up as this thing that he isn't. Like I said, he's a false idol of sorts.
Yeah, he's a generation ahead of where he should have been. In other words, the Bene Gesserit were right. They almost had it right. And then Paul's mom decided, you know, I love this guy. And, you know, so she threw a monkey wrench into the entire plan. So,
but then again, I don't know all the books, so I can't speak to that. But yeah, I mean, like I would picture.
I did my reading with Children of Dune, or Dune Messiah. That's where that was the final book I read.
Because like I would think at some point, though, even though he's not the chosen one or whatever you want to call it, he still did free the Fremen. So I mean, there is that part, but I don't know what that leads to in the books.
An intergalactic jihad that kills untold billions. I think
that's what I'm saying. I don't know what it goes from there. So yeah.
But
well, it's sort of like in Star Wars, you know, Anakin is supposed to be the one to bring balance, right, and all that shit.
Right.
Well, he technically does, because he creates Luke and Leia.
But that's another example of George Lucas taking inspiration
from Dune. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and that's where I always have that revisionist problem with making Anakin Skywalker the chosen one. Not to get into Star Wars, but it's like, dude's literally Hitler. Right? Like, so that's like coming around and saying like
Hitler. Little Hitler.
Like, yeah. That was
He's
my
got a
joke
much
earlier.
hotter
It's like
Ava
he can be
blonde.
saved. I know it. It's like, oh fucker killed a shit ton of people, destroyed worlds. God knows what else he did that we don't know about.
Kill
He
a
can
bunch of
change.
children.
I want a girlfriend that forgiving. Yeah, she's awesome with that. It's like destroying people is just a mistake. You don't know him like I do.
Well,
What
Frank
about the
Herbert,
kids? Like,
with his
They were
thing
just like
about it
animals, and he killed them like animals. That's all.
for Dune, his big thing, like if you take anything from the book, it's that charismatic leaders should come with warning labels. May not be good for
that's that's exactly what Andre has said too, as far as his breakdown of what it is that's a great way of putting it. Yeah.
Yep.
Now we just got a really good shot of the still suit again, and that was designed by Bob Ringwood, the same guy who would later design Batman for Tim Burton.
Mm-hmm.
And
just a few years later,
you can see the similarities big time. In fact, there's people that rumored that he basically just built the Batman suit on top of that.
That's what, yeah, that was actually conversation at the time back in the 80s.
I'm Paul Atreides.
Pre the internet.
I mean, it's a dangerous combination with Paul. I mean, this is a young man who, in many ways, like his mother, is using an opportunity to basically get back at a bunch of people who have wronged him. I mean, his mother trying to get back at her father for what he had done to her mother. And
He should have just become a stripper.
And another thing that is, Sally Mitzer in this, that it's kind of in the movie, but not as much, is the fact that he wants to save his family, get back everything, but he knows by doing it, because he has prescience, that he's basically going to become Hitler.
Yeah, it is
Lil Hitler.
Hitler.
It's the road to hell. This is the road to hell, is what it is.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions. But I got to say something about the Batman suit. One thing that's majorly different about the Batman suit compared to the Dune suits is the shoes. Because yes, Michael Keaton's wearing shoes. He's not wearing boots, guys. I don't know if you're aware of this or not.
Yeah.
And in fact, Nike put out a version of Jordans that I have here that are loosely based on the Bat boot or Bat shoe.
Nice.
And there you go. So it has the strap and everything, but they're Jordans. But yeah, and this would be black on the bottom. But this is basically the same design that Michael Keaton had. And it would strap up here like this. Yeah, and it would be part of this thing he would have that would make it look like a boot, basically.
No.
And you see it here
very
in the
much.
Fremen suits, right? Like it goes down to their legs, to their ankles, up around a shoe of sorts at the bottom. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Tom. I just wanted to thank my friend RRTNZ. Thank you very much for the super chat. Hail Admiral and crew. Saw Dune in '84. Nearly walked out during the Baron's Boyle scene. Not a great film, but an interesting one. Great cast. Cheers. Thank you, Thank you, RRTNZ, who's also I've seen with the Critical Drinker in the chat. So thank you very
And
much.
you get your video for that. Here you go.
The Duke will die before these eyes, and he'll know that it is I, Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, who encompasses his doom.
The spice must flow.
Send in the flying fat man.
So you rewarded them with the scene that he despises the most.
I love that scene. He's so cool and so evil in that. It's like, and he's like the perfect maniac. I loved it.
You know what? I think in many ways, though, it is kind of interesting that you have Baron Harkonnen and the way that he's interpreted in this particular film, at the time the only film version, and you look at the way that they adapted the character of Ming for the Flash Gordon film, and added a few things to the character that, at least in the comic strip, wasn't technically there. The book version also adds another layer to Ming the Merciless, in that it's hinted that he's had a bit of a relationship with his daughter. So first of all, let me just officially say ooh. And
that does explain a lot.
Yeah, I keep telling people, if you really want to read what a lot of these scripts were like before they did a lot of work with them, check out the novelizations to many of these films, because that's what they're usually based on, earlier versions of the scripts. And the novelization for Flash Gordon, like the novelization to like Buckaroo Banzai. Buckaroo Banzai is an earlier version of the script with a lot of really cool ideas and a lot of characters that you do not see in the film, but are referenced and are important characters to the story that, for whatever reason, were cut out and or not alluded to, at least in the theatrical version.
See, and this is the problem. Hollywood putting themselves in it. It's like, just because you banged your sister doesn't mean you got to put it in your script.
Whoa!
Wait a minute. Only Vader, out of all the people we've talked about, is the one who would not have to register under Megan's Law. Like, all the other bad guys have that in common.
Well, Ming wouldn't do it because, he's the merciless and he's an emperor.
He wouldn't comply.
He would not comply at all. That's a guy with such a big ego that little robot is basically his voice.
No, but somebody definitely needs to look into Padme's like internet search history. That's all I'm saying.
What's on her hard
What is
drive?
the age
Exactly.
consent on Tatooine? Question mark.
Good one, Tom.
Working girl likes him young, real young.
Oh, jeez.
Sturdy hand is a must.
The fate of Keen.
All I know is that Anakin should have had Child Protective Services called on him.
Oh, yeah.
You just join a cult of weird old guys.
Yeah. Somebody called Tom Cruise. It's another cult for him.
Whoa.
I still have to say I love Revenge of the Sith. People bag on the prequels, but Revenge of the Sith is just about OT quality. I really love that movie.
I prefer Revenge of the Nerds.
What was that?
I said I prefer Revenge of the Nerds.
Fair enough. I mean, it's
I-
also a very good movie.
I'm so divorced from Star Wars anymore that it's like, yeah. Whatever.
Well, now you have Dune to look forward to at least, so you get the original Star Wars.
Sort of.
Dude, I can't take Denis Villeneuve's comments in every movie drops. He says something like, this movie, he said something about the plot that was changing. The last movie, he had some comments. If enough people see it, I'll finish it, which was a rehash of what he said when he dropped his Blade Runner movie. I feel he comes off like an extortionist, whether you like his movies or not.
And that's and how is that different from J.J. Abrams and a few of the people that have worked for him over the years? I
The
mean,
difference is I think Dune 2 might actually make money.
AJ wears a mask and a gun. Denny might be poorly spoken.
I don't get why he's treated as like the next film messiah. He's a really great visualist, but he does not have good pacing to his movies at all. Except
agree,
maybe
Shinaki.
Sicario. I like the pacing in Sicario overall.
Well, yeah, because there's stuff in Dune that I don't understand why you left out, and then there's stuff I don't understand why you left in. And then it's like, okay, so you're not doing an extended cut. This is one of those times where it's screaming for like, a Lord of the Rings version extended cut where give me the 3-hour first part, give me the 3-hour second part, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. See, this is one of those projects that could have some awesome packaging to go with it. If we were doing what we did 20 years ago, the physical release of Dune from Villeneuve should have had a lot of really cool stuff to go with it. I mean, that thing should have been densely packed with a lot of material and just all kinds of cool stuff. That's what really.
Tragedy.
Did Star Wars and Star Trek take out the supply chain by destroying the manufacturers and people who used to do that? Because no one wants that new Trek or sequel merchandise, and that's a real problem.
Well, yeah. By the way, we just saw that scene, Keith, and I got to jump in here because apparently you guys aren't going to stop. So this is the scene with what you were talking about before. where you
Yes.
see the stretching inside the worm when
Mhm.
he stabs the tool in to climb it.
Mhm.
And in order to create that stretching, they use
Prophylactic.
you know, yeah, thank you. I didn't want to say it, but that's it right there.
Well,
I
I
think that was
gotta love the costumes, the body bag costumes on the whatchamacallit, the guild guys. What are they
And the
called?
Sardaukars.
Yeah, the Sardaukars. Because David, you got to picture that. He's like, these are great. They're perfect. Yeah, we just got to wash them out. Why? Because whose choice would it be otherwise? Because for those who don't know, yeah, they used real body bags that were never cleaned out. They found out after the fact.
Oh,
yeah.
Geez. Yeah, I forgot.
That's what I'm saying. Dave is just like, fuck it. We're not wasting time.
What, Dave? Why is my skin now discolored?
Don't worry about it. It'll go away in a few days.
An outbreak of leprosy on the set of Dune.
Wonder how that happened.
My arm fell off.
How on earth did the suits give us salmonella?
Can't shake that smell. Just
who cleans these
Is my
things
steak
exactly?
supposed to be tasty? Should I worry that?
Water's not cheap. Shut up and act.
In other news, a group of actors were divorced today when their wives found out they all had chlamydia.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine that an STD. Like
We're in
herpes.
Dune. There is no water. We can't wash anything.
Yeah, method directing. You get the only what you get is what your suit filters out.
He's so method
That's all your
directing.
water,
He directed it on LSD.
Well, again, that's that whole, look at when the book was originally published and a lot of the initial fans of the book.
I think
it's a story, not a how-to guide, kids.
I think Lynch just agreed to do this movie because of scenes like this. Get to go in his eyes and he sees worms going around the thing. Sign me up.
There's a baby in the womb. Done.
He's talking to the baby in the womb. Awesome.
Yeah. Freaky.
Now,
Is that
the
Kevin?
young girl that plays his young sister here, he would grow up to end up being on Criminal
hot.
Intent.
Yeah.
She was on the show Criminal Intent.
And Sybil.
Yeah.
She's also in a couple of movies, yeah.
Because she played
Was
Sybil.
Detective Wheelhan from Criminal Intent? Was she a cop or was she a one-time criminal? on the
Hey.
show?
No, she was the cop. It's Alicia Witt.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So she had like on that show, her hair is kind of strawberry blondish. She came over from maybe another Law and Order show, right? Was she on Law and Order Conviction and then ended up on Criminal Intent as another character?
I think she was Emmy nominated for her role in the Emmy nominated series Sybil
There
by
she
Sybil
is.
Shepherd.
Yeah, she played Zoe on Sybil, it said here.
Yep.
She's been in a ton of shit. Like,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not, yeah. This was her first role, but
Yep.
yeah.
Familiar name.
Yeah. If you
She's
see her
funny.
picture, you probably recognize
And
her.
she grew up into a bombshell.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was a hottie.
Well,
That's
she
what
had-
Warlight does.
She was already kind of tall. I mean, for this movie, they had to have her get on her knees in the scene with the Baron Harkonnen because she was already a pretty tall child. She's playing young.
And by the way, they dubbed her voice.
Yep.
No, I'm wondering in this version that we have here, because I thought there was a shot where you actually have her real voice in it. But
To my knowledge, her voice was dubbed.
through the whole thing, because there's a couple of bits that weren't in the
Especially when she uses the what do you call it? The weirding, where she.
Well, yeah. But I was trying to figure that out. I know they dubbed her for the theatrical cut, but I could swear for the shots from the TV cut, they don't have the dub over top of it, but I could be wrong. Which is weird because, like I was saying, it was like her voice is not that much different. I think they just had somebody come in and dub for ADR, which is what it was.
Now, one of the few things that wish.
Are you sure it wasn't? Oh, go ahead.
I wish they could have done better. Some of the when the ships are like going into or out of, like the compositing is not quite right on a lot of them when they're going in and out of the planet's atmosphere.
Yeah, and let's face it, the Sardaukar do not look that fearsome.
Yeah,
they look kind of goofy.
Yeah. Well, and I just bring it up because I'm not even. I always heard that she was dubbed, but I can't find a listed actress who dubbed.
I'm looking on her official page, and she said something about it. She said, "A moment of frivolity for all those who have asked over the years about the way my little voice as Aaliyah sounded in Dune. It was overdubbed to sound otherworldly, but here is a deleted scene that wasn't. I remember filming this so vividly and so much I adored Francesca Annis." So she actually gives the link on YouTube for it. You want me to play it?
Go for it, because it might even be the scene that's in the
I'll
shot.
give it to you, Martin. I'll give it to you,
That
Martin.
I was talking about, because you can almost tell there's a
Okay.
difference. But it was almost like, I wonder, because it's like the voice they use is trying to be similar to her voice, I believe, but it's an adult clearly trying to mimic her voice. Because then when you cut over to the real voice, because you cut over to the real voice, and it's like, okay, that sounds more natural, but you can tell she's definitely still talking with the same kind of accent and all that higher English accent and all that stuff. Yeah.
I think you need to start that at the 46-second mark.
Okay.
So give that a try. I heard a pop.
Yeah, me too.
That was his brain.
That or he farted.
Oh, did you start a holy war?
Yeah, Mom.
At the 40 seconds, did you say?
And I feel bad for
she
Paul.
hasn't-
He's got a little sister that's already a know-it-all.
The link
why'd they
that
have
she
to do
shared,
every previous
the link that she shared is starting at the 46-second or the 7-second mark. I apologize. 7-second mark.
Because it only
Yeah,
runs.
we don't need to talk about it. Just go ahead, show it.
Yeah.
Getting there.
Yep, this is the exact scene I was talking about, because it's in that way in the cut. Like you can tell it shifts from her voice to the other. And I was like wondering, is it a different actress, or was it because they dubbed it later when she was older? That was what I was going to ask, because like the movie might not have come out for like a year and a half. Because you already said she was shooting up in her height, because she was at that age where girls go through a little earlier than boys, let's say.
And a lot faster too.
Exactly, yeah. So I was always wondering if that was actually her just redubbing it, and it just sounded weird, because I was watching it last night. I'm like, it doesn't sound that different, but it does. It's like weird.
Okay. Here we go. Can you hear it?
The guild. They're fighting me in the mental worlds. They're behind everything.
Now that's a little kid's voice.
They
Yeah.
fear the one.
But when you listen to her as an adult, she still even has like the little lisp, or what do we call it?
Who'll see more? The guild is behind everything. It's not finished yet. I'm not formed.
Very cool. Very cool.
She's a good little actress. You can see why she went on to do a ton of shit.
That was amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot better without the stupid voiceover, whether it was her or somebody else who did it. But according to her,
Yeah, she said it
did.
was overdubbed to make her sound more otherworldly.
Does make her a lot creepier.
I don't know about creepy. I just say weird. It just comes off weird. But
Yeah,
that's
you
what David wanted. So, but that's just
You know how it sounds? It sounds like somebody when they're talking inward. breathing in talking instead of breathing out talking, which is normal. It's
sort
just,
of
weird.
What I didn't like about it is it sounded like an adult trying to sound like a child. That's what I didn't like about it.
And there's Virginia Madsen right there, man.
She wasn't very old when she did this either, was she?
Nope, she was young. I think she was 1922, right in that area.
Yeah.
Oh, here's the creepy thing. Poor Emperor.
Kill this child.
It's an abomination. The Quincy Haderach.
Oh, I really am. She's a Taylor Swift fan.
Swiftie. We are never ever.
She's gonna start singing. Oh no, they're starting to migrate and congregate outside the door.
They've invaded our film and pop culture.
The Swifties.
Because Paul's got a death list, baby, and he'll write your name.
That's right.
And I love how they call it atomics in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring forth the atomics.
It gave it an old movie feel.
Yeah. Yeah. The guns are not our own.
Wow, you managed to squeeze down the 3-hour version into 2 hours of pictures. I'm impressed. Usually these go about almost exactly as long as the movie itself. But we did get started right away, too. That helped.
Yep.
I find that if you render the images at a speed of 175 in, what is that program called? I use VLC Media Player. It does a really good job of rendering. And usually something like this would be close to 2 hours for a 3-hour movie.
Rendering unto Caesar what is his.
I do like a lot of the pyrotechnics work they do during the coming battle scene.
And of course, this was shot at the same time as Conan the Destroyer.
Yep.
Retiring 61 flags. What's this?
Perhaps old American flags at the VA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Thank you for
I
doing
love the
that.
ceremony,
They
by the way.
properly
I love
disposed.
that ceremony.
A lot of people fought for that flag. They have to be disposed of properly. Thank you.
They did do a pretty good job with the whole universe in that you go like, well, why aren't they using lasers? And it's like, oh yeah, if you hit a shield with lasers, it creates a nuclear bomb explosion. Don't do it.
You know, the thing
Don't
that
cross the streams.
the thing that really makes Aaliyah very creepy is that she was born with all this knowledge. It wasn't like she was just a baby that came out crying. She came out talking. Hello,
That's because
my
mom
baby.
dropped
Hello.
LSD while she was pregnant.
Oh, there you go. I thought she was more like Michigan J. Frog.
This is why all those crack moms out there are trying to do it.
Tom Cruise would be like, Thetans came back. She
Am I
remembered
going to
all-
hell for that joke?
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. You're already on the path, so you don't have to worry about it.
You're not just on the path. I think they're going to give you a nice penthouse apartment, a nice view overlooking the Lake of Fire.
L. Ron Hubbard would be like, and the world of
Oh,
Frankenstein
Lord of the
and-
hoary netherworlds.
They're letting you go on the commuter lane.
It's gotta be weird. It's like, so what do you want me to do? Kid, you're gonna pull those things out and then you're gonna kill the Baron. How? Throw him into a sandworm.
Hey, just another red shirt's dropped in.
Oh, he's been for.
I hope you're feeling better, man.
There's that red hair.
I know he was sick, and so was Zach. Zach's got walking pneumonia or double walking pneumonia.
And the boogie woogie flu.
Thank God it wasn't triple Walking pneumonia.
The cold that's going around lately has been pretty bad. Like, I was down for about like 3
This is a
weeks
cool
total.
shot right here.
Yeah, my niece is currently getting over strep and flu at the same time.
Sorry. Poor kid.
Gurney didn't have his war plug.
Who is
right?
snoring?
Wow.
That was what I was wondering. Yeah.
Somebody's sleeping.
I did not. Yeah, he isn't wearing his. He isn't wearing his war plug. Huh.
Yeah.
You know, this is exactly what wedding receptions are like. The two different sides of the family, groom's family, bride.
You know, this movie opened up against the biggest film of 1984.
Ghostbusters.
No.
What was it?
Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Christmas 84. Yep.
Beverly Hills Dune. Who would it? You say you're the Emperor of Arrakis?
I didn't even know that, but what's weird is I just watched Dune and then I started watching Beverly Hills Cop because I just got the third one in the mail.
You know, I'd love to see a fan edit of those two movies put together.
Oh my god.
Dune and Beverly Hills Cop or the two Beverly Hills Cop movies?
Like cut from a scene where Paul is saying something and then Eddie Murphy about the whole banana in the tailpipe. That'd be great.
I'd see that movie.
It'd be the banana in the Throptocopter.
I cried at the death of Thufir. That's made me sad. I always liked this guy as an actor too.
At least he doesn't have to milk cats anymore. Though that whole thing almost feels like it's supposed to be a comedy scene. We've poisoned you, and you will have to milk this
that
cat.
was another liberty take.
Check out that chin on him. Holy crap.
From what I'm reading here from the novels, like Paul gets taken out by a jealous bitch anyway. It sounds like the princess fucking
Well,
had her
he
fill of
knows-
Shawnee.
Yeah.
Long
She
story
kills
short,
Shawnee, basically, yeah.
long story short, Paul basically commits suicide because he doesn't want to have to go through like 10,000 years of turning into a worm and all this other shit that he knows he needs to do. So he just passes it on to his fucking kid to do.
Yeah, Leto II becomes the Emperor Worm.
If fate wishes it, he can meet you with my blade.
Now, according to what I'm reading here, reacting to his words of blasphemy, Aaliyah's priests rush forward and stab Paul to death.
Yep. He knows it's going to happen, so he basically commits
Yeah.
suicide.
Seppuku by sister. Got it.
Oh, it's even fucked up because Baron Harkonnen takes over. Was it?
Aaliyah support it? I don't remember this.
What?
Did Aaliyah support his death? Because I don't remember this.
Yeah, yes and no. You see, she had the inkling that it was Paul indeed, but she wasn't sure. And the memory of the Baron was possessing her. So at the moment in which Paul is killed, for an instant, she reverts back to the little girl and Paul, my brother, blah 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 blah. But yeah, it was it has nothing.
Yeah, that sucks. I want to point out too, also in this scene, this echoes the final fight with Hamlet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the envenomed blade.
Yep.
Shawnee.
It's not me.
Shawnee.
Right through.
This was epic.
Right through his head.
And then he breaks him open and shatters the ground below him.
His chest splits open and the ground shatters. This is great. That's biblical stuff.
I did not for 1 minute believe that Kyle MacLachlan was going to win that fight the first time I saw this movie. I had no knowledge of the books. I hadn't read them. I was just like, oh, he's done, man. Sting is amped and ready to just take this guy out.
I love the books, man. My favorite is the fourth one, God Emperor of Dune. Oh.
Yeah.
By the way, people on my
I
channel.
just didn't like the
think
ones
that
written
Kyle-
by the son.
No, don't
Yeah,
read.
the Brian Herbert. Okay, there's a few that are good. The ones about the butler and Jihad, those are good.
Yeah.
When it does the early prequel stuff, those are fine. It's when he starts doing the
House Atreides, House Corrina, and House Harkonnen.
Yeah.
Garbage.
Oh yeah, they are.
Yep. Just stop at like God Emperor. God Emperor is a good stopping point for the whole series.
Like I said, the last one I read was Messiah.
Oh, so you didn't get to Children. Children is good too.
No. Well, that's the one. No, the third book is when it rains on Arrakis.
No, that happens later.
I thought it was in the third book.
No, the third book is how the Paul's kid.
When does it rain?
You don't actually see it. It happens between the third and the fourth. Oh man.
Yeah, and then there's this whole other like priest class that goes up. Was it the Fishers? I'm trying to remember. It had fish in their name. It's been a while.
Yeah, that is the Royal Guard of Leto II.
Oh, the fish speakers. That's right.
Yes.
Everett McGill.
Yes, Shieldwall, the water is poison for the worms.
Yeah, good.
Eraserhead, Jack Nahan.
Patrick Stewart, Gary Halleck.
You mean nothing
Who
to
is
me anymore,
clapping?
Picard?
Keith, are you clapping? Who's clapping?
That's me clapping.
Oh, it just sounds weird. It sounds like somebody's butt flaps.
Just let him finish.
Oh,
Gary.
The world of Gary.
And I love you for it. I just want you
Well, Lady B has this for you.
This is a scene from Dune. If you guys remember this scene, it was important.
At the oil fields and they lit up like the eyes of Allah. Burning oil rained down from the sky and cooked everything it touched. I could only hide myself and cry as my goats were consumed by the fiery black liquid.
Best Paul Atreides speech ever.
In the midst of the chaos, I could swear that I heard my goats screaming for help. As quickly
I like you. You got balls.
as they'd come, the infantry. It was on that day I put a jihad on them.
The same motivation from Blame It on the Don't Mess with the Zohan.
Oh my god, that movie. Anyway, that was fun talking about Dune like that.
Wow, Anima.
Any last thoughts? Oh my god, look, you think that there's a reason we're in a relationship.
75% of my subscribers on my channel so far in the vote think that Kyle MacLachlan would still win a fist fight with Timothy Chalamet. 65, Timothy Chalamet 28. And,
Yeah. Who would do better on a runway doing a model show?
Jeez.
I would bet on Timothy Chalamet. And I got to say, Tom Connors, you have changed the way I see the Dune and Timothy Chalamet forever. Because a while back, you riffed off something so true. Hollywood would love to make Timothy Chalamet Superman. And I have been echoing that ever since. It's so true.
Listen, Timothy Chalamet would make the better girlfriend. So
Hollywood would rather Timothy
really
Chalamet
good as Lane.
Yeah,
Hollywood got Lois quite right.
Hey, what we will about that kid, look, he has got a following with the younger chick crowd that you wouldn't believe. The only reason Wonka made any money is because of him. Nobody wanted to see that movie. Nobody asked for that movie.
Bad, by the way. It's
not. It's not the point. The point is though that he has a huge following.
Huge following.
Huge
He looks
following.
like Edward Scissorhands on a crack bench.
He's not a Jai Courtney or one of these other guys that Hollywood tried to necessarily make into something, but the kids love him. So whatever. I guess that's the latest trend with the women's. They like that kind of a guy, but whatever.
The only thing they would like, the only thing they would like to see more would be if Timothy Chalamet was actually dating Taylor Swift. That'd probably be the end of it.
Oh, their little minds would explode, Keith. Jesus.
Timothy Chalamet likes chicks.
Yeah. Well,
that's questionable.
The female vote or the female movie going populace is why I think that Kraven the Hunter is going to do a lot better than people think.
It might,
because Aaron Taylor Johnson does have a following.
But look how well Aquaman actually did in comparison to everything else. It was like,
yeah,
it
that's because of Jason Momoa.
I think, you think you're right. I think Jason Momoa did put some butts in the seats, but
And I think Aaron Taylor Johnson's going to do the same thing for Kraven.
Yeah,
you know what? I believe he has a following, but I don't believe he's going to be able to save that movie. I seriously do not think he's going to be able to save that movie.
I don't think he has the following that Chalamet has. No,
that's right.
Because that's what I've been telling people is people are seriously underestimating Dune 2. I think you're going to have both his fans plus just the fans that want to go see this. Like all the events for tomorrow night are selling out everywhere already. So
the fears about Shawnee being the main character in this film, that's
I've heard enough reviews that I don't think that's the case.
It's still Paul's story. It's about Paul Atreides, not her.
I mean, this movie's being compared to, and I'm not going to pretend that it is, but people are comparing it to like the Two Towers and shit. So I mean,
Heady praise.
That's far.
That is heady praise.
Wow,
that's what they're saying.
Hyperbole.
I say you got to wait about 20 years for that to be, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
if it's half as good, I'll see this movie 3 times.
That's a reach. That is such a reach.
3 times as good. I'll half see it.
I may find a way to see it for free, so to speak.
Listen, it'll at least be worth seeing, which is sadly like a positive we don't have for most movies these days.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Like
Yolanda Gaines says Timothy is this decade's Leo DiCaprio.
Kind of, yeah. I can see that.
I still think he's super.
Leo's still a little more manly. But...
Is it true Taylor Swift did the soundtrack?
That's the Dune movie with soundtrack we need.
Taylor Swift is this generation's Toto.
Oh,
I can see the whole like Johnny Depp comparison. Yeah, it's that dark emo guy kind of thing. Yeah, that's why the girls also loved Loki as well. Like I remember Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah.
Wouldn't Toto being the soundtrack make it every single David Lynch movie has a reference to the Wizard of Oz? That'd be deleted, but no, maybe.
I've always wanted to do like a fake edit opening where it opens with Africa.
but the
I just can't believe they didn't do the song "It Never Rains Down in America."
Hey, Tom.
I knew where you're going.
What do you think, even with all of the ladies supporting Timothy Chalamet, do you think Dune 2 has a shot against Godzilla?
As far as against, well, they're opening up far enough apart that I think Warner Brothers is going to have a very good first 2 quarters of this year, because both of them were released in the height of the shutdown stuff. They were dual streamed online and in theaters, and there was a lot of people who would have went to see both of those films in theaters, Godzilla versus Kong and Dune, had they been able to.
I did go see both in theaters. Thank you.
Yeah, people who were able to did, and they did very well considering they were on streaming at the same time and already available in pirate versions and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
I think Dune 2 has a possibility of doing 700 or 800 million easy worldwide, and I've been saying the sky's the limit on the ceiling. Or the
I want to jump back to something here,
Godzilla, because that's a different conversation. But
yeah,
I want to ask you what you've heard, or has anybody heard, when we're going to finally see a release of Godzilla -1 on video on demand? And
I guess the rumors going around are like July.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I've seen nothing official online, and I'm like, when are they going to release it so we can get it?
I want to see it again. It was great.
I would
wanna see it in black and
imagine
white. It never came here.
They might do like a video on demand release in about 2-3 months. I don't know.
I sure hope so,
Maybe
'cause I wanna see it in
by
black and
May or
white.
June. It might be on digital, but then I'm imagining that's the rumor I'm hearing is like July. So we'll see.
All right,
Initially, I
well-
was hearing May, but that was before some of the hype. So
Well, they tend to go anywhere from a month to 4
Yeah.
months.
I had heard May, but I also heard July. But July's supposed to be for the minus collar.
So what we're looking at is a 6-month wait.
could be
on
both.
that
Could
film.
be. See, that's the other thing I heard is that it's coming out on Blu-ray first, and then we're not getting a 4K until later.
Yep.
So
By
that
the
could very
way,
much-
Is Warner Brothers releasing it? Who's releasing it here in the U.S.?
I have no idea. I know. Let me see. Shin Godzilla was released by Funimation, I think. So I don't know if they have a deal with Toho or not.
Right? Yeah.
So if
This may
they
be-
have like a deal with them, then that means it end up getting released through Funimation. Otherwise,
Yeah.
hard to say. Anybody could.
And it may be tied up with the whole thing with Warner Brothers too.
Part
Well,
yeah,
that's what I'm wondering, because they've got the rights to Godzilla in the U.S. So
the only deal I know there is that they just cannot release a movie in the same year. And this movie got lucky that they released it at the end of last year, so they were able to extend it into this year. But other than that, I don't know. It all depends on who they have. If they have an exclusive video deal, say like Toho does through Funimation, then they have no choice. They just have to release it through Funimation. But if there's no longer a deal there, then yeah, they could pony up with Warner Brothers just to help promote Godzilla X Kong or something like that. Because again, there's some people, I don't know why they have this like weird idea that there's like a competition between the two or something. It's like, no, Toho makes money off of both. Like, and not only that, Godzilla X Kong, those movies have sold nothing but tons and tons of toys. Like, we talk about how bad the toy industry is right now, not when it comes to Jurassic Park and Godzilla. And that's because they figured out pretty early on that they're like, oh crap, kids like monsters and dinosaurs, and we got both in this movie.
Yep.
Just a red
So,
shirt,
yeah.
another red shirt. Get with me privately, and I'll show you how to do that. Mr. Tickle Trunk just gifted 10 Pop Culture memberships. I want
Awesome,
to thank you for that,
TT.
brother. Yeah, Mr.
Thank you.
Tickle Trunk's awesome.
right
man.
then.
For him, I'm going to play this video again for those of you who missed it the first time. I love this video clip.
More deep. More deep. More deep. More deep.
My name is a killing word.
I can love
You know, it's
that
funny
line.
we didn't bring
my
up
name.
that Muad'Dib was changed. Yeah, the closest thing we see to a Muad'Dib in the movie is the thing that the Beast drinks out of that juice box. That's kind of like closest one. Because in the book, it's a little mouse.
Yeah,
it's out in the desert. Yeah,
little titmouse, little tiny guy.
and I guess the word itself actually translates to one who can cross over paths or something like that. So it actually does fit with his name and who he's supposed to be. The man that could go where the better.
And there's a lot of words used and names used in the film or in the book that are based on real things, and that's what I love, because again, this takes place 20,000 years in the future from Earth.
Or maybe it translates to walks between paths or something like that. But basically,
is Gay Prime old Earth? I've always been curious.
No.
No, I think these
Which
are
one is
supposed to be
Earth?
planets that are far off from us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
To the
Totally
point where,
different sun and all that business.
well, to the point where Earth is a myth, probably.
Yeah.
Yes.
something that
That
is-
nobody knows what it is, or if even was it real.
I'm not even 100% sure if
There's
this
a
is
mention
supposed to be
of Earth.
our. I was gonna say I'm not sure if this is even supposed to be our future.
The way I read it, I always thought it was. There's even references to Earth things in Star
Well,
Wars.
if there
the
is,
book,
well,
the novel.
Yeah, but see, George went back in the special editions and he took out like every iteration of God and other things too in the early Star Wars movies. So I think
and
he's
yet-
really cleaned a lot of that up. But yeah.
And yet, are you
Well,
an
in the
angel?
novel, though, it's still in there. It's still in
Oh,
the
I'm sure if you got
novelization.
them, yeah, but
I'm sick of hyper atheists. I mean, Ridley Scott with Prometheus.
oh, fuck that noise.
That movie made no sense.
Look, Ridley, I love, as much as I know people love Ridley Scott, I have a little beef to pick with him, especially over Alien, because dude come in thinking Alien was his thing. It's like, no, it wasn't, dude. You do not get the right to come in here and rewrite the history just because you.
Not to mention, he broke every rule he helped make with the first Alien film.
Right.
Every single
Well,
rule. One, you can do the right thing, the smart thing, and still die in Alien. But then in Prometheus, everybody dies a stupid death except for the captain of the ship, who
well,
sacrifices
I'm not even
him
talking
and his crew.
about that so much as I'm just talking about the simple fact that he turned the simple idea of what the alien was, being this biological weapon, as more or less a metaphor for nuclear or biological weaponry, right? And how it could get out of hand. Because that's
Right.
kind of what it was presented in the first movie, was that the jockeys, they made this weapon and then it got out and killed them. That was the whole kind of like,
Killed by their own,
Killed by their
hoisted
own-
on their own petard, as Shakespeare would
yeah,
say.
and this thing with Prometheus trying to make like the aliens more than they really are. It's like, no, they are the perfect killing weapon. They can hybrid with whatever living organism is on any planet and make it indestructible. Basically, you can't kill it. You can't do anything to it because it'll hurt you to try and kill it. You know, it's like, it's the perfect weapon. And they're, to me, it's just so stupid to make it this like metaphor, and then like, oh, they were going to send it to Earth this whole time. All that shit. Just like, oh, give me a break.
Yes, in the original
Blue people
script, they were
and
mad
crap.
because we killed Jesus.
Yep.
That
Yeah.
Jesus was an emissary from them.
Yeah, it was so stupid. When really it's like, no, it really all boiled down to is that he did not like the fact that Aliens mythology was built more on top of what Aliens, the movie, did than his first movie. Because in the first movie, there's hardly anything in that movie. It's the second
Which is
film.
why it's the superior film, sequel, or prequel. Of all of the films revolving on Aliens is the only really good one.
Well, it's because it gives you the queen. It gives you a lot more of how the system works with the hive and all that kind of stuff. Like, that makes more sense. Doing what he did in Prometheus, he was just trying to rewrite history with that, because Alien wasn't as popular as Aliens at the box office. Didn't get all the Oscar nominations and all that kind of stuff. That's
and
all.
we have the long ass production time for Dune to thank for Alien in the first place, because O'Bannon, who wrote Alien, worked on the Jodorowsky Dune, and as a result met H.R. Geiger.
It's true. Yeah, people forget that Dan O'Bannon and the other guy that wrote it are more. I mean, he had a perfect script, basically, is what Scott had to work from. I mean,
Alien is like a perfect storm. Like, everything went right for it when things could have gone very wrong.
Yeah, and then add that in with having the design from Geiger, which, like, it felt so alien that it just worked perfectly. Yeah.
Yep.
Because I think if it looked any different, look at Predator, for example, is a great example. Had that not worked out the way it did, I don't think people would have liked Predator as much.
Well, my favorite detail with the xenomorph pair, at least the first one, because I don't think they did in the second one, is there's actually a human skull hidden in the alien, which you can just see barely in a couple shots, but it's there to fuck with you, basically.
Well, that's something I don't think they've ever explored well in the alien mythos, is the idea that it can hybrid with whatever animal. Like, that's what I actually liked about part 3. I didn't like part 3 overall, but
all it needs is the digestive tract.
Exactly. Yeah.
Reproduce.
Well, after part 3, and they said that it can breed with any animal, they came out with toys of crossed with.
Well, they were going to come up with a
lions
series that never made it. Yeah.
Yeah, lions and rhinos and bulls and all sorts of different xenomorphs that had different powers based on what animal they were spawned from.
Well, that's because the original concept for Alien 3 is that was supposed to have been a farming planet community and not a prison.
It was a wood planet they were building the sets for.
Yeah.
But in the original version, it's a bull that he actually hybrids with, not a dog.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's called the bull alien.
Yeah, but that's it. That's exactly it. It was supposed to be some kind of a farming community.
And that's why that alien walks on all fours and never walks on its hind legs. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. We're done with Dune. Movie's awesome. Alien is awesome.
Maybe did we do Alien yet?
No, but we need to. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap us now because I got to get going here. I want to thank everybody for being here, especially Andre. It was so great that he.
Yeah,
could,
I wish he'd have got to
us.
hang out a little longer because he's just chock full of knowledge on this.
So much knowledge.
I'm not even remotely as close to what you want in this. But yeah.
But I want to thank you again. Great episode, Tom, John, Keith, Martin, Teague, Shinatsky, and who else joined us?
I'm still here.
Chris joined us. I can't read names right now to see who's who that's still in here because he keeps putting things up. Martin, can you take it down so we can see who's here? Martin, thank you. Deleted Scenes is still here. So thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it. I hope everybody has a good Saturday. Be safe and happy weekend, man. See you next time.